Morning, morning, morning. Ishtra Bleak, morning. Rosemary Headley, morning to you. Sarah Richards, morning. Morning, Roxanne. Daniela Williams, morning. Rookman, morning to you. Donna Walcott, Leonard Harris, morning. Cyril Mayas, morning. Sally McNeil O'Connor, morning to you. Macaroni Tony, Jaden Paul 66, Rhonda Joseph, Margaret Thomas, morning. Gertrude Firefox, morning. David Clark, Alison Rogers, morning to you guys. Patricia Comena, Angie Sherry, morning. Neil Francois, always present. Morning, Sir Deborah Duranty, morning to you. On Facebook, morning, Diane, Annette Beard, Jennifer Nathan, Elizabeth Allen, Gloria Lydia Lazari Green, morning. Kenneth Gabriel, morning. Dave Emmanuel, morning. Alison Boyce, morning to you. Morning, Carol. Yeah, hot and sunny on my side too. Extremely. I guess we had enjoyed that hot weather now because from what I'm seeing, based on some of these weather entities, the Atlantic is a lot hotter this year than it was last year, so they're expecting a busy hurricane season. Deborah Duranty, morning. Chris Craigwell, morning to you. Victoria Isidore, Eden Thomas, Marilyn Gordon, good morning, Miss Gordon. Deborah Duranty, Ruth Fronted, morning. Emmeline Harvey, Betty James, morning to you. Ria Ed, morning. Jackie Graham. Dave, is it? Nurse, morning. Daniela, Patty Kutu. Let me see this thing here. All right, so let me jump into it. It's 11:06. This is another busy Sunday. I'll jump off at 1 o'clock. So, Julian Parker, morning. Denise Cummings, morning to you. Merle Durant. Morning to all of you guys. Right. So, let me see. A couple things I wanted to touch on quickly today. First of all, let me see if I get this here. All right, so me say good morning to Mother Tuna Puna, Mr. Chance, Mr. Yates, good morning to you guys. Where I put this thing? Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. I'll come back to that. Is this it? Morning, Jen. Right, so the Ministry of Finance had cause to put out a press release on the 23rd entitled Cabinet Not GSEs Makes Policy. Minister of Finance, Honorable Colm Imbert, MP, has taken note of media coverage of a recent discussion in a joint select committee of Parliament where an opposition MP proposed the imposition of new taxes on cultural artists. The Minister of Tourism and Culture has already debunked the false narrative that opposition MP's random thought was a government plan. However, it appears from the coverage and commentary that followed this GSE meeting that there is a mistaken belief that a GSE is a policy-making body and that a GSE has the power to change our tax laws or to initiate such a process. It also appears that there is a mistaken belief that if any member of a GSE proposes something, including opposition MPs, however outlandish their proposals may be, that these proposals will automatically find their way into government's fiscal measures. For the avoidance of doubt, parliamentary committees, while essential for our system of democracy and for transparency in matters of state, are simply empowered to inquire into, examine, and report on various matters. Unlike the cabinet, GSEs are not responsible for initiating and deciding on policy or the direction and control of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and the GSE certainly cannot formulate a plan to impose new taxes, and we trust this clarifies the issue. And so this is a release dated February 23rd, 2024 from the Ministry of Finance, where it is seeking to treat with, again, propaganda in the public domain that the government wanted to implement yet another new tax, this time on artists who perform outside of Trinidad, that the government wanted to tax any income that they earn for performances outside of Trinidad. And so clarity is being brought here by the Ministry of Finance that that was not government policy. This was a recommendation that was made by, I understand, Rodney Charles, UNC MP for Naparima, Rodney Charles, who is here proposing the imposition of new taxes on cultural artists. These are the same people who for the last, well, practically 8 years or so, have been complaining about this government only wants to tax. And all they want to do is to implement new taxes, and they're oppressing the people and oppressing the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago with all these taxes. And between 2010 to 2015, they were able to run the country and they never imposed or implemented any new taxes. Every time they want to beat up on the property tax and all that kind of thing and talk about a country or a government that seeks to tax its way out of poverty, all kind of foolishness. Here it is that Rodney Charles is proposing the imposition of a new tax. So when these guys, a lot of them who make the majority of their money during the Carnival season, a lot of them who during COVID when the borders were closed and they couldn't go anywhere to perform, and large gatherings were banned for a while, and these guys had no money and no way to make money, right? Rodney Charles is now proposing that they should be taxed. Now, let us make no mistake, the law as it is now states or requires that all citizens, any citizen who earns over $90,000 a year, 90,000 being your personal allowance, you are required to fill out a tax return to declare the income that you would have earned and to pay the relevant taxes, right? But we know a lot of people you have who don't do these things. You have a lot of small businesses that don't do these things. The vendor, doubles vendor, the bacon shark man, the fish man. We have a lot of people in this country who make a lot of money and don't declare what their income is. And therefore, when they're supposed to, really. But because we don't have a robust mechanism in place for such persons to pay the taxes, they just get away with it. And this is a complaint that we've seen and heard a lot of times over the years, that you have people who make a lot of money, these small businesses, they benefit from what the state offers, but in terms of making a contribution via taxes, income tax, a lot of them don't pay. Until, of course, they decide to register as limited liability companies because maybe they want to get state contracts or something like that. And in those circumstances, because they are now officially on the radar and they are required to have audited financials and stuff and the like, so that people could see. But in any event, we have businesses who try to deprive the state of taxes. When you go to them to buy something, they tell you, well, if you're paying cash, you'll get a discount. And they give you a handwritten bill instead of putting it through the cash register and all of these different things so that they can avoid having to pay taxes. Right? But just to highlight the hypocrisy of these people, that Rodney Charles is suggesting and recommending the imposition of a new tax on cultural artists who go outside there and promote the country through their business. But Nyla Blackman just recently got signed, I think it's a 3-year record deal with some big record company in the US, which is affiliated with the likes of Nicki Minaj and others, right? But when they go outside there to perform, I saw over the weekend, I think, well, not the weekend, I think a couple of days ago, Nadia was in Toronto, in Canada. She was performing at the halftime for one of the matches or so, she and I think a couple other artists. So they get an opportunity to go outside there and to promote Trinidad and Tobago, to promote Trinidad and Tobago music, soca. We don't pay them for these things. When they choose to go outside and go to Canada and go to the US and fill out Madison Square Garden and all of these different places to host a concert, yes, they're making money, but they're also promoting the culture. They're promoting Trinidad and Tobago. The government doesn't give them any money for that. There is no subvention to say, well, all right, yes, you're promoting the country, you're a cultural ambassador, all that. The government doesn't do that, right? They do that, and we, the entire country, benefits from them putting our culture on the map. When it is that you have foreign carnivals and our cultural artists, not just the performers, but the band leaders who go out and They participate in Miami Carnival and Notting Hill Carnival and all the other regional carnivals and so on. They make money, yes, but at the end of the day, they're promoting Trinidad and Tobago. And if the government were to spend money to promote the country, it would cost a hell of a lot. Plenty money, right, to market your country. And these guys are doing it. They don't come back and tell the government, well, here, what now? We went outside there and the concert sell off. And we promote, and it was mostly Americans who were there, and they appreciate the music, and they want us to come back. So, ante up, pay us money for that promotion. When they go outside there and they waving their flag, they don't do that because they expect to get anything back because they're happy to promote their country. And in the same way, if it is that they are not compensated for that, and we're happy when we see like Bungie Garlin was on the Soul Train Award and all of these different things. We clap and we applaud that. Yes, great, wonderful. They're promoting Trinidad. Yeah, we like that. But again, we don't compensate them for that. But we are saying any monies they make outside, we want a piece. This is Rodney Charles saying. Has he been condemned by anybody in the UNC? Did Kamala Prasad Bisesa pull him up and say, hey, choppiness you're talking? You forget we are the party that is anti-tax. We are the party that condemns any taxes of any form or fashion. Did they pull him up? But I bet you if it was the government had said that, we considering that, oh boy, we would not hear the end of that. The Doglaya would have do doubles and coffee. We would have get about 2 doubles and coffee in one day on that issue. But he had nothing to say because it's his colleague made the recommendation. Right? We are here, David Naked would have probably do a live to talk about how this government only want to continue to oppress the black man and when the artists go outside there and who they want to oppress and who promoting the soca and the African and all kind of nonsense. You would have hear that. Right? That they just want to oppress these people. We would have heard when these guys win the big money with these competitions, if it's soca, well, we don't have soca monarch anymore. But when they win Calypso Monarch and Road March and Young King and all of that, these monies are tax-free. They get a check for the 250,000, whatnot, they ain't pay no taxes on that. You see, we don't consider these things when they want to chastise the government and say the government wicked and oppressing people and all of that. They don't study that, right? Yeah. So Rodney is proposing that. And you see the problem is that when these things are proposed, it is put in the public domain, and once it reaches the propaganda mill, government can blame. Because when I first saw it, I can't remember, there's one of those entertainment sites or those entertainment profiles on Facebook that brought up the issue, or was it a radio station, was quoting the artist, it's Jerome Priscilla, who I think is the president of the Promoters Association. And he was telling them, rock so with that or some kind of thing so. But the comments, so they posted what Rome said and asked people, what are your thoughts on this? And of course, in the comments, people were attacking the government, this and this government. And when the government had nothing to do with that. The suggestion didn't come from the government. Nobody in government. It came from the opposition. Same people who, as I said before, have been beaten up on this government, right? Coming now to propose that. Where the inheritance tax that they claimed the government was going to bring. Remember that was the pillar of their local government campaign? Inheritance tax. Yes, they're coming to bring an inheritance tax on you come next year, 2024. You know what I mean? It means that when you work hard to build your house and buy a property and all of these different things to leave for your children, that when it is you die, your children have to come and pay a tax on all these things. And if they can't pay the tax, they go take the house and take the car and take the money and everything. And when they asked Kamala Prasad, said, so, well, could you share with us your source? Where did this come from? I am not going to share my sources. You know how the media is operate. You don't share your source. Your source, the name of your source is Forest Park Punchin and Grey Goose. That is your source. Right? When you're under the influence and you sit down home watching BBC and Fox News and CNN, and you're seeing all these things in the United States and you get a brilliant idea. Hey, let me come and talk that talk. And the supporters don't hold them to book for all of this nonsense. And they put these things outside it, and the supporters go and they share it. They share it. And because they have this knack, and they've done this so well to create this picture as if this government is so wicked and they just want to tax. That anytime they hear anything about new tax, people have to jump on the bandwagon and cuss the government and all kind of thing. Right? But again, I always say we don't focus on the ways that this administration has done more for tax relief than perhaps any other administration in the longest while. And again, I always reference the increase in your personal allowance from 60,000 under Kamla Prasad Visesa to $90,000. 3 increases in personal allowance, which has resulted in thousands of people either no longer paying income tax or paying up to $7,500 less in income tax for the year. But we don't talk about that. We will focus on property tax, and they want to oppress and kill people. Cost of living going up, and all they want to do is tax. This administration reduced VAT from 15% to 12.5%. And while the opposition would want to come and talk about Kamla, they take VAT off her food, 7,000 food items. The evidence would show that the citizenry didn't benefit from that, because those who sell the food, who import the food, simply mark up their prices to cover. And so there was no real benefit from that. And I have read that article for you all on numerous times. But that VAT was simply removed. And was it 7,000 food items? We don't know. They love to come on to social media and challenge PNM supporters. Tell me 5 things that Rowley do since he come in office now. Tell me 10 things the PNM do in the last 8 years. But when you ask them, tell us what were the 7,000 food items that Prasad Visesa removed VAT offer, they can't tell you. Ask them which one of them goes to the grocery at the end of the month or in the middle of the month and buys 7,000 food items, such that they could benefit from that. None of them could tell you that. And when they come with that stupid talk about, oh, Kamla take off VAT offer 7,000 food items and Rowley put back the VAT on the basic food items, the damn lie. The evidence is there to show. All they have to do is to go on Google and type in, or whichever is their search engine of choice, and just type in 0-rated items, food items, Trinidad and Tobago, or non-VAT items, and you will see that since 2016, this administration came in September of 2015, and since February of 2016, they would have posted the new notification of all the items that are VAT-free. All the basic food items are VAT-free and have been VAT-free since Prasad Visesa took it off. This government didn't reinstitute it. But they looked at certain luxury items, things that the average citizen doesn't buy, to reimpose the VAT on, but to reduce VAT from 15 to 12.5%, right? Which average citizen buying things like mushrooms and maraschino cherries and macadamia nuts and all of these kind of things? Which average, when they go to the grocery, all who talking about the carry my phone and their basket, they go and pick up these things? No. But they want to come and talk that stupidness, but they wouldn't beat up on Rodney Charles for making that proposal, right? Telling the government, here what? No, I don't know if it is he trying to bait the government into nonsense, and then when the government do it, they'll come and say, you see, watch how they wicked. They even want to tax the poor artists and them who going out there and promoting Trinidad and Tobago, and they want to take the money from them too, but wouldn't say that the recommendation came from you all. So, Jayanti Lakshmi try to take the shame out of the faces of the opposition. Let me just read what she had to say. Because she posted up the same, get it here, blasted hypocrites. Jayanti. So she puts up the same post that I just read for you, right? And this is her caption. Grateful that Minister Imbert clarified this for the public. It is the PNM cabinet that makes all policy decisions, and the respective ministers are responsible for executing these policies. Now, nowhere in the release did it say that the ministers are responsible for executing policy. Cabinet creates policy, and it is left to the public servants to execute the policy. Minister is responsible for the day-to-day management of the ministry, but has a DPS and a PS, right? Who are basically the managers. They are responsible for running the ministry on a daily basis. It is the PS and the DPS and the other managers and directors in the ministries who have the responsibility to execute government policy. The minister doesn't come and call a staff meeting for the whole ministry and say, well, the cabinet say we want to do this and all they have to do that. That is not the responsibility of the minister. The minister will convey cabinet policy to those immediately below him, who are the managers of the ministry, and their responsibility is to get the public servants who want more than the 4% to do the work and to implement policy. So I've always given you all the example of where Dr. Rowley would have mentioned in the parliament that simple instructions to put the decals on the vehicles belonging to the various ministries, to put the brand on the vehicle, so you know which ministry this vehicle belongs to. So that when it is you see a government vehicle somewhere that it shouldn't be, and you know they're not working, and they're using the state resources that are paid for by taxpayers for their own personal benefit, that you could make a call and report them. And even that, as the Prime Minister said, they don't want to carry it out. So that is an example. Government policy, cabinet say this is the policy of the government. This must be done. And the people whose responsibility it is to carry out that instruction and to ensure that it is done, choosing to take their own time or not doing it because they themselves have, some of them are benefiting from opposing that policy because they want to take the government vehicle and go home with it like if it's their own. Right? Using the fleet card to put gas in the car, wear and tear on the tires and whatnot and stuff. Like that is their personal vehicle. They have their own personal vehicle, I know, but using the state-owned so that they can reduce the wear and tear in their own personal vehicle. And the government say we will have none of it. And they decide we're not doing it. What the Prime Minister is supposed to do? Take a belt and go and hold every errant PS or DPS over his lap and beat them? Supposed to do that? Or suspend them for not carrying out the policy? So when Jayanti come with this foolishness, grateful that Minister Imbert clarified this for the public. It is the PNM cabinet that makes all policy decisions, and the respective ministers are responsible for executing those policies. So when looking for someone to blame for the failing economy, rampant crime, failing education system plagued by school violence, high food prices, crumbling infrastructure, and the demise of the energy sector, and she puts in capital letters, blame the PNM cabinet. Well, if that is your position, Jayanti, I want to tell you, then, and thank you for clarifying for us, for further clarifying what the minister said, right? That is the cabinet responsible for all these things. So when it is that we continue to bring up between 2010 to 2015, and we highlight the fact that it was the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago that chose to proclaim Section 34, right? Don't argue. Based on your law, don't argue. It was the cabinet that made that policy decision. When the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago took the decision to pay almost $7 million to retrieve a fire truck that wasn't worth $200,000, it was the cabinet led by Kamla Persad-Bissessar that took that decision. When the cabinet took a decision to pay $175 million for a piece of land that was valued at 52, right, by a private valuator, that was a cabinet decision. All of those different things were cabinet decisions made by the cabinet of Kamla Persad-Bissessar, led by her and the 32 other ministers that she had. Largest cabinet in the country's history. So when it is you want to come and play petty and play smart with foolishness, just understand it's very easy to turn it back on you. But your supporters, the people who are most likely to visit your Facebook page and see this trash, that's why you get 27 likes and 19 shares. Because even the supporters of the party for that poorly and all that nonsense realize it's just garbage that you all putting outside it. But you wouldn't pull up Rodney Charles. Rodney Charles, right? If it was a government minister had said that, bet your bottom dollar that would have been the hot topic tomorrow night on the Monday night forum. Speaker after speaker would have come and talk about it. But you ain't going to hear about it. You know why? Because it come from Rodney Charles. The supporters who love to cuss the government every time they hear the word tax. You feel they're going to make that an issue? That would have been all over kick out the PNM Facebook page and the Break Free, HC, and all the rest of pages, propaganda pages that they have. That would have been a talking point for Dumb and Dumber, right? Captain Clueless and Professor Misinformation. That would have been a hot topic for them. But they ain't going to talk about it because why? It's Rodney Charles, a member of the opposition, made that suggestion. And they too, it would have applied to them because they are DJs, right? And when they go and they do their private gigs and so on and they get paid, I'm pretty sure they don't fill out their income tax return form to declare, well, I made $20,000 for the year doing DJ services or $30,000. They're not going to do that. Only what the government know about. And since most of them probably not even making more than $90,000, so they have no tax return to get, no tax refund, so therefore they're not even going to fill it out. And all these extra monies that they make, right, tax-free, and they're enjoying it. But as I said, had it come from a member of the government, they would have been talking, running them out on that whole week. And all kind of things. The supporters would have been calling in to cuss up the government and rowley this and rowley that and rowley only oppressing black man. But they ain't going to talk about that. Yeah, but they care about country. They care about country and they come in to educate and inform. Educate and inform every evening. Monday to Saturday, they come in to educate and inform. Right. Can't do that. They are nonsense. Waste that time. Let me see here. So I saw that so this whole issue with the Tobago, with the boat and the oil spill seems to have subsided now because the cleanup is almost complete and things are underway. The processes are underway to try and plug the leak and the like. Right? What is this? Folks, just now, give me 1 second. Okay. No, this you cannot be serious. Just now, just give me 1 second. How do I do this? Just now. Just give me 1 second there. Call this guy. Give me 1 second. Oh, 1 second. How to be kidding? Just now. 1 second. Let me just get this. All right. Yeah. So I was making that point there, right? So with respect to the boat, right? So that matter seems to have subsided. But you remember all the conspiracy theories that we were hearing from Annie Roberts and the like, right? Every day he doing a doubles and coffee with the conspiracy theories to tell us about Delcy Rodriguez, Wilma Ruperti, trying to link what is happening with Venezuela to Trinidad and somehow trying to involve the government in this whole bacchanal. Well, now that the Guyanese news media has been reporting that, and from the very outset, the Guyanese authorities had stated that Guyana was aware that the vessel was en route to Guyana from Panama. That was supposed to happen, right? And the vessel never showed up and all of these different things and whatnot. They didn't express no concern before. So now the Guyanese news media is reporting that their equivalent of TNTEC, which is GPL, the Guyana Power and Light, I think is the name of it, may have had some link to the vessel in terms of the crude coming to Guyana. And there is no Trinidad and Tobago involvement. All of a sudden, the conspiracy theories have ceased. So all the people who know about Bellingcat and Storm Tracker and all of these different things to track boat and the like, they come in now to and who are putting these things out there and creating all kind of bacchanal and so on. Now, all of them gone quiet. They ain't posting up nothing again on social media, and the government trying to hide, and the government trying to deceive the citizens, and somehow the government is trying to do this and trying to do that. Right? No talk about that. Let me play this. Well, no, I won't play that yet. So the dog liar was leading the charge. Right? He is king conspiracy theorist. Was putting all kind of thing outside there, telling people go on Bellingcat and reading out a whole sort of thing. Right? All of a sudden now, because we're hearing about what the Guyanese side, he hush him out. He jump on the new bandwagon now. Whenever his political leader raises an issue and there is no discussion on it, and it doesn't get legs, no traction, and he realizes nobody ain't taking her on, not even the members of the party, he always feels he need to come and do a doubles and coffee, right? To try and help her, to assist her, because you're like, wait, nobody leader talk about this thing and nobody take it on by. This ain't going nowhere, boy. I'm not even seeing the other members of the parliament sharing this on their Facebook page. Nobody ain't talking about it. It's not even being spoken about on the platform. Yeah? So he come now to talk about, she raised the issue last week, as I mentioned to you all before, about the new chairman of the Integrity Commission. And she has concerns because apparently the man living in the same neighborhood as Bridget Anizet George, Speaker of the House. Right? Let me just play. So this is a crave your indulgence morning, but I'm not going to play much of it. I just want you all to listen to the hypocrisy of these people. Right? Just listen to this. So let me just get this here. see. Let me just get this here. Right. Where is it? Turn this off here. Right. So I know I don't like to listen to him, and I don't like to hear him either, but just humor me just for this morning. And as I said, I'm not going to play much. Right, let me see if I get this here. I always say if hypocrisy was a party, it would be that party. Let me just get this here. Right. I just play, but I'm not even going to play where he played this morning.
Integrity in Public Life Act, Integrity Commission. The chairman of the Integrity Commission, Mr. Hayden Gittins, I waited calmly and quietly to read and hear and learn about your response to the information put in the public domain by the leader of the opposition, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and Senator Wade Mark and the United National Congress about the clear factors that break the benchmark for apparent bias in your appointment by President Christine Kangaloo to replace Rajendra Ramlogan as the chair of the Integrity Commission. Now, first and foremost, you have to understand before we even get into you, who you are, where you live, where you work, who you know, who you line with, all of that. Understand that the Integrity Commission, the chairman, that human being has to be in the eyes of the population beyond reproach in any form or fashion, must be of the highest order and must be so disconnected from those over whom he or she wield power that it is a very precise, concise, difficult position that should be left for the most apolitical, unconnected individuals in the society. Secondly, in Trinidad and Tobago right now, we have one of the most oppressive, abusive prime ministers in history who has just trampled on the constitution by appointing a PNM card carrying member, a former PNM minister, a lady who preaches the gospel of the PNM into President's house, which was designed, created, and thought in the minds and the hearts of the framers of our constitution to be an independent office. We have also seen in this climate the prime minister who appointed the president, who appointed you on the advice of the cabinet and the prime minister, was attacking your predecessor, making claims publicly that there was bias and that the former chairman was actually attacking and wasting time in investigating the prime minister himself. And the prime minister is the number one person who must fall under the guise and gaze of the Integrity Commission. So, sir, the mere fact of your appointment, not being you, but the appointment of the next Integrity Commission chairman would have been met with clear eyes and interest from the entire population who's looking for an individual of impeccable integrity. So, let us now be clear on your appointment and your assumption. The Kamala Persad-Bissessar, Wade Mark, the UNC have asked you certain questions and I waited to hear your answer. The UNC's position, and let me make it clear, elucid, because the newspapers don't even understand it. It's not an attack on you as an individual, you who you are, what you've done, or if you're independent, professional, intelligent, if you have integrity or not. That's not the issue whatsoever. The term is called apparent bias. Apparent bias, the benchmark came from a 2002, most recent case, 2002 in the UK. And what the standard for apparent bias is simply whether a reasonable person would believe that any connection, conflict, relationship, or interaction that a person may have had would lead a reasonable person to believe that you or an individual would show a bias in any decision due to that conflict, due to that relationship, no matter how small it is. It has actually nothing to do with actual bias, whether you are going to do so, whether you are going to be biased, whether you are going to be oppressive, whether you are going to be a PNM is irrelevant. So, Wade Mark and Kamala Prasad Bissessa said that you have been the neighbor with Bridget Anisette George, a stone strong PNM for the last 8 years, the Speaker of the House, a former Attorney General of the PNM, and Newman George, who's Rowley's #1 friend for 50 years. And you said you lived there for 20 years, and they've lived there for more than 20 years. You've been a neighbor. So the question is, would you over those 20 years have developed some sort of relationship, interaction, connection, affinity, or in fact anger with these people? And the answer is yes. And if the answer is yes, then a reasonable person will say that in carrying out your duty, an apparent bias to your neighbors exists, whether it was cocktail parties, limes, children playing, grandchildren playing, sharing tea.
So I think you all get the gist of what I wanted to play, right? Again, if hypocrisy was a person, if hypocrisy was a party, see, where was this bald-headed lout to come and talk about integrity and apparent bias when it is Zainul Hussain was appointed? Jeez. Folks, give me 1 sec. I don't know. Give me 1 second. Yeah, where was this bald-headed lout? All of a sudden today, he knows about integrity in public life, and he knows about integrity with an impeccable character. When Zainul Hussain was in the chambers of Kamala Prasad Bissessa's attorney at the time of the email gate investigation, where Kamala Prasad Bissessa was one of the persons named in those emails and was the subject of police investigation, integrity in public life investigation, right? Israel Khan was her attorney in that matter. And at that time, for a period of at least 13 or 14 months, Zainul Hussain was in the chambers of Israel Khan while he was doing his work, going to court, or whatever, well, not going to court, but whatever, in dealing with the matter, the police investigation, and so on. We are to believe that over that whole 14 months or 18 months or whatever the period was, Zainul Hussain and Israel Khan never had any discussion about Emailgate. Why would they have no discussion? And that during that point of time, Zainul Hussain had no idea that he was going to be appointed chairman of the Integrity Commission to say, well, here what now, Israel? Well, I can't talk about that with you, know, because I'm about going to be appointed Integrity Commission chair, and how we go look, apparent bias. They'll say, but this man working in the chambers of Israel Khan, who is Kamala's lawyer. So this apparent bias, I can't talk. So we have to believe that, right? And that's what he said. He never talked to Israel Khan about this matter. This was the biggest topic in the country at the time. And you are telling me you had no opinion on the matter? The Prime Minister's attorney is your good friend. He is your colleague in the same law chambers. And you all never talk about this matter when the whole country was talking about it? And we're supposed to believe that, right? So when that happened, this bald-headed lout didn't come out and say, well, here, what now? I don't think that is a good decision. It didn't occur to then President Anthony Carmona that was a bad decision. Perhaps, now I would like to think, as we were told, that when appointments of this nature is being made, the special branch would do their due diligence to make sure that these persons are above board given the position that they're about to hold and the influence that they would be able to exercise. So if that is the case, special branch obviously would have been aware that Mr. Zainul Hussain was in the chambers of the attorney for the Prime Minister in a matter that was actively being investigated by the then Integrity Commission. To inform President Carmona, well, look, this man have a little issue. He compromised because he is a principal in the chambers of the Prime Minister's attorney. So I don't know if it do well. if that did not occur to Kamuna. But anyway, he didn't talk about impeccable integrity. He didn't come to talk about apparent bias, even if you ain't do it. You know, as what a reasonable citizen would say and the members of the public might say and how it would appear. No, he applauded that and supported that appointment. Right? And now talking about because the man living in the same neighborhood with the speaker, who happens to be PNM, that somehow he is conflicted. The previous Integrity Chairman Commission, the man who was sitting there before him, could this bald-headed lout come and tell us who he knew? Who were his friends? He had no PNM friends. He don't know anybody in high places such that he could be compromised. Well, I want to quote Israel Khan. When it is this matter came up, back in 2015, 2014, 2015, thereabout. Let me quote what Israel Khan had to say when the media raised the issue of apparent. Khan said, and I'm quoting, just a minute. The Prime Minister's attorney, Israel Khan, yesterday confirmed that Hossain worked in his private law chambers. He, however, denied all claims that Hossain acted with any bias when he issued the statement clearing Prasad Visesa. But he said he respected Vento's right to his opinion. My view is that he is entitled to his opinion. He said that while he did not know how the Integrity Commission operated, it comprised 5 members, right? If there is a claim of bias, then the decision could be taken before the courts are nullified, Khan said. He said, however, that any speculation that he and Hossain acted in cahoots was ridiculous. Where did this concern come from? Where did this speculation come from, Mr. Khan? Is it because of your relationship to the Prime Minister, who was the subject of an Integrity Commission investigation? The same thing that this idiot coming to talk now, right? Same thing you want to come and talk about. We go on. But here, this is a small country. This is Israel Khan talking. And everyone knows each other or someone that knows someone. The man worked in this chamber, but he's a man of impeccable integrity and character. And Khan said if there was sufficient evidence found against the Prime Minister, then even as a lawyer, he would call for her to be locked up. Everyone knows this is a small country and everyone knows each other or someone that knows someone. Where is Israel Khan today to come out and defend the new Integrity Commission chair? Using the same principle that he applied when Zainul Hussain was appointed. Where is he to come out and say, tell Kamla you're talking nonsense? To tell Anil Robert you're talking nonsense, right? The same way he was able to write a whole letter to the editor to pull up Kamla when she was criticizing people for getting silk. And Mr. Khan, her attorney, did not seek to mince words to tell her that she's a fraud of the highest order, that she was not deserving of silk. And he challenged her. These are the criteria for somebody to qualify for silk. Please tell us your qualifications in any of these. Do you satisfy any of these criteria? And he indicated no, that she should give back her silk because she did not meet the necessary criteria to qualify for it. Where is he? The other men and women of letters. Where is Martin Daly? Where is Martin George? All of these people who always have a comment. All of these people who always have a position. Where are they to come out and give comment? How come the media ain't running them down to ask them what are their views on these things? But you know what? They prepare to leave it out there to language so that the members of the literati could talk that talk and try and hound the man out of office. And put who? He is talking about the president and the relationship of the president to the PNM, and she was a former minister under the PNM and so on. But you all put up the opposition leader's attorney as your choice, right? A man who is on record, as public record, as calling the Prime Minister a liar, right? A man who has stated publicly that he is a member of the United National Congress, not a member, he's a supporter of the UNC. A man who has stated publicly that he supports Kamla Prasad Visesa, right? And will do everything in his power to ensure that she and her party get back into office in 2025. Who has made a public declaration. It is there for all to see and read. He wrote that in a letter, stating that his undying, unstinting support for Mrs. Prasad Visesa and the party which she leads, and his expressed hope that they get back into office. But for them, he was an ideal candidate to be president. But Christine Kangaloo is not allowed to have any political allegiances. I want to ask him, all the past presidents, right? Who did they vote for? Which party did they support? Because they're entitled. There's no law that says the president can't vote on election day. Who did Paul Ambe Weeks vote for? Who did Anthony Carmona vote for? Who did George Maxwell Richards vote for? We know that George Maxwell Richards was PNM because when in the 1818 deadlock, Max Richards was the PNM's candidate or the PNM's nominee for the position of House Speaker. And they weren't able to have him elected as House Speaker because of the 1818 deadlock, right? And when they went back to the polls, the PNM won the majority and were able to appoint a president. Again, his name came up and he was successful and he became president. But you see, this little stupid thing, every single citizen has a right to vote. And we have two main parties. So when they want to talk about Christine Kangaloo and her political affiliation and her political allegiances, but yet still you all wanted to put up a man like Israel Khan. Israel Khan. And then he come to say, well, he's not a member of the party. It doesn't matter that you're not a member. You are a self-proclaimed supporter of the leader of that party. You are on public record as having said that. You put out a letter in the public that is there for posterity. So long as there is social media and any type of media of that nature, people could go and pull up that article and read that letter that you wrote, publicly declaring your support for Prasad Bisesa and the party that she supports. So to come and talk about you're not a member of the party is, for me, plain smart with foolishness. Or they could rock so with that dotishness. So when he comes to right, and nobody ain't take it on. Nobody of worth has taken it on. And so therefore that, like all the other issues that they have raised, will just die. It's not going to go anywhere. And so this clown now trying to see if he could give it legs because all of them have to be auditioning. Because he want to talk so bad on the Monday Night Forum platform, but they're not giving him an opportunity. So I don't know if it is he figured that he's fallen out of grace with Prasad Bisesa and he's trying to get back in her good books. So you have to see, leader, look. You see nobody else is talking about it, but look me, I defending you. I come to do a whole 16-minute live to talk about that. A whole 16 minutes doubles and coffee. That is normally be 7 and 8 minutes. So look, I give you an extra 8 minutes to defend you. Look me, you see me here? Look. And you know I want to run for the St. Joseph seat. So just remember that. Take note of that when it is the time come to pick candidates. Look me here. Just remember I was your number one defender. Defending on foolishness. Let us talk about the man's credentials. That is what we need to talk about. I am not aware that we have any other than, well, the ongoing investigation that they had with the Prime Minister with respect to his house in Tobago, right, in Inez Gate. I am not aware that any other member of government is under any active Integrity Commission investigation that we should be concerned. But let us not lose sight of the fact that notwithstanding the issues that members of the public had with the appointment of Zainul Hussain, and they chose to ignore that, and he was appointed. It didn't take too long thereafter for the same Integrity Commission to collapse, where you had multiple resignations, starting with Sebastian Vento, who came and he told us, you see where it is, Zainul Hussain come and tell earlier that the Integrity Commission say the investigation is closed and Kamala and the rest of them are cleared. We don't know nothing about that. That is Zainul Hussain telling you that. The rest of us, we are not of that view. Because we are still awaiting additional information, right, from the police and whoever else so that we can make a determination on that. So I don't know where the hell he get that from. He didn't make that decision in concert with us. And what happened? The Integrity Commission collapsed. 2 Integrity Commissions collapsed under Kamala Prasad Bisesa. But the first one with the Father Charles and the issue of the plagiarism, and then there was some issue with some other person who was appointed, and then whole bacchanal and the Integrity Commission collapsed under them. But just forget that. But this idiot, this loudmouth lout, want to come and talk nonsense about the man should step aside and step down because he's the neighbor. What foolishness. So that's a requirement now. So we considering to appoint you to the commission. Anybody? You're living within a 10-mile radius of anybody, any PNM person? Have you ever seen the man's card? You know which party he supports? Who he voted for? Yeah, but I bet if he was a UNC man, he wouldn't have any issues with that. If he was a known supporter of the UNC and living right next door to Bridget and Izette George, he wouldn't have no problem with that because he's UNC. Because you perceive he's a PNM, and this is why I keep making the point. It's difficult to get good people to come forward and serve, offer themselves to serve in the public, because every time you have people like Anil Roberts and Kamala Prasad Bisesa who want to impugn these people's integrity on the most foolish of bases. Absolutely ridiculous. So, and you know what? So the supporters, the ground report will pick up that and they will talk about it. And then you'll have people like Anna Munsami, aka Miss Santa Cruz, will come and talk about that, and the rest of them who don't know the assembly, right? From the elbow, and will come and make a big issue about that on their programs, their bias programs. I tell them, boy, forget them, miss. Waste that time. Waste of time. But in the interest of time, there's another issue I wanted to raise. Where is it? So, UNC attorney Rishi Tripathi, some of you are maybe familiar with that name. In 2020, on nomination day, there was a rumor going around that the UNC had decided to rescind the selection of Ravi Ratiram as the chosen nominee for Kuva North because of all of the things that was in the public domain at the time with respect to his possible involvement in human trafficking, prostitution, wrongdoing while he was on the board of PTSC, on the board of TSTT as vice chairman of TSTT, and all of these different things, right? On nomination day, so in the as I said, some of you may remember on social media, there was a rumor going around that his nomination had been revoked and that Rishi Tripathi, a UNC attorney from South, was supposed to replace him. So Mr. Tripathi is no small fry, right? He is well respected in the UNC. In fact, if memory serves me correct, at one time he would have acted as a temporary senator, UNC senator, right? So he's up there. Mr. Tripathi put out a Facebook or a social media post a couple of days ago, which read, "Nothing wrong with demanding more from our leaders. Agreed, they have let us down in a number of ways, but it is appalling to see what members of parliament and senators earn. Pay them whatever, but demand the best outcomes and punish their wrongdoings 10 times harsher than the average man would face. Let's see who signs up for the job then." Now, this is the kicker. We need intelligent, brave, and revolutionary thinkers, not criminals, traffickers, and hand-to-mouths who defraud the state in the most trivial ways. This is Rishi Tripathi, UNC attorney, right? UNC attorney, a man who's possibly fancied to be maybe the next attorney general should they win office in 2025, is making reference and basically implying that some of the current members of parliament may be criminals, traffickers. Why did he choose to use that word trafficker? Who are you referring to? There is nobody on the PNM bench who is accused of being involved in trafficking. So he can't be talking about the PNM. And hand-to-mouths who defraud the state in the most trivial ways. Who's the hand-to-mouths? Who are you talking about? I just asking that question because I recall at one point in time Jack Warner telling us that there were certain UNC members of parliament who prior to coming into office couldn't buy 2 doubles and a red Solo, but left office after 2015 with multiple homes, fancy cars of all types, and bursting bank accounts, right? So, Mr. Tripathi, you see, and this is the problem. When we, on this side of the fence, the political fence, when we say these things, and we accuse members on the other side of these things, the supporters quick to jump out and talk about we licking Rowley K-packs, we drinking too much Balize juice, we are sycophants, and we only voting on race, and all of these things, right? But this is one of their own. A member of their ranks calling them out, calling out the leader of the party for appointing persons who are not revolutionary thinkers, but criminals, traffickers, and hand-to-mouth who defraud the state in the most trivial ways. Trivial ways. Like buying a vehicle, $1 million vehicle, and taking advantage of the perks of purchasing such a vehicle, right? And giving this vehicle to your friend. Your friend who's a multi-millionaire and could more than afford to purchase the vehicle at market rate that the average citizen would pay for. Well, not the average citizen, but those who have the money to afford it. But instead, you want to give him a blind, right? And pretending, you buy the vehicle for yourself. So you buy a multi-million-dollar vehicle, paying thousands of dollars because you probably took the loan from the parliament, paying thousands of dollars a month in installments for this vehicle. So it's coming out from your little kakada that you're getting. The little $17,000 that you're getting as a member of parliament and that money is taxable, right? And the little allowance you're getting, whatever transportation allowance, or if you're entitled to that, not too sure. But you taking your hard-earned money. Well, it ain't hard-earned because you only show up in Parliament a couple of days for the month and that's about it. And the rest of the month, all you only bad talking the government. But this money that you get, you taking your money to pay this monthly installment on this vehicle, and then somebody else driving it for the majority of the time. Probably the only time you drove it was when you went to pick it up at the dealership to drive it out. And after that, this individual driving the vehicle whole day, whole night is in their possession, and you paying monthly installments for that? Who does that? Who does that? And you're telling us there was no benefit? You didn't benefit from this at all. No, there was this transaction was completely above board. It was your money that was being spent to pay these installments. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in installments, and somebody else driving the vehicle all the time. And that's above board. And when it is that they catch up with you, the police do their investigations and drop a charge or two in your backside. First thing you're going to look to see when you come out the FIB office, PNM at its best again. What the PNM had to do with that? The PNM didn't tell you to go and buy no $1 million Mercedes and give your friend to drive. However, arrangement, all you have if it is you paying the installment and he giving you back the money as the case may be, or if it is he pay you a lump sum of money because this is what the total value would be. But I find it very difficult to think that anybody is going to take thousands of dollars, because even with all of the perks and so on, when you minus that, that vehicle is still very expensive. You're still looking at least about $1 million+. So you're telling me you're willing to spend $1 million+ of your money on a vehicle that you only drive once or twice, and have nothing there. But you see, this is the problem. Tripathi and them waited too long to come out and condemn the kind of nonsense that's taking place. Only happy to continue to have these persons serve another term in office, and serve not just as MPs, but as ministers of government. And when they have demonstrated conclusively that they have the propensity to be dishonest when it comes to public monies, they have the propensity to thief, right? To engage in all manner of wrongdoing, even in the public arena. There is sufficient information for us to reasonably believe that these men may be guilty of these things. But she has no problem with that. Look, I foisted earlier on there. The fact that a man was fired from not one but two public utility companies, two for misbehavior and wrongdoing, but you felt that he was the ideal person to put in a safe seat. You couldn't find nobody else among your ranks with a little bit of integrity, somebody whose name and whose reputation was a little cleaner. But I know coming from that party, it's very difficult to find persons of that caliber, right? With a clean reputation. But you went and picked the worst of the lot and put them there, right? So he could possibly be, because their thing is appoint people to positions, to ministries based on their professional background. So it is not inconceivable to believe that if, God forbid, they win the election next year, that this man who was fired from two public utilities companies could end up being the Minister of Public Utilities by virtue of the fact that he worked in two public utility companies. And as far as they're concerned, he have all the experience that he needs to run the ministry, right? And again, we ask the question, how did he end up in those positions, in TSTT, a senior managerial position at that, and coincidentally in a department where he had say with respect to the expenditure of millions of dollars, at a time when his good partner, who is also now the subject of a police investigation, was the vice chairman of TSTT. And we have to believe that it had no there. He didn't contribute to him being appointed to that, right? To that entity. But they figure everybody hears of the waterfront ilk and everybody's stupid. But again, I always have to do the juxtaposition that had it been Keith Rowley had hired or put somebody with that kind of cloud over them as a minister, we wouldn't hear the end of it. And it is unfortunate that the men and women of letters, to borrow Anthony Carmona's words, who always have an opinion on everything, have no opinion on that. They have never come out to condemn those appointments, knowing what is in the public domain, have never come out to say that the integrity and the sanctity of the parliament, right, is tarnished and impugned because of the appointments of people like that. And what does it say about the judgment of the opposition? The supposed prime minister waited. I even have a whole program, Douglas politics, saying some of the nastiest things, all kind of nasty allegations being made, right? day after day, things that you wouldn't want your children to hear. That if it is, even if you're inclined to listen to him, and you put on your radio, or not your radio, you put on your device, or decide you want to watch it on your big screen, and you have young children in the room, you will tell them leave, because you don't want them to hear the nastiness and the filth that is coming out of his mouth, because you recognize his nastiness and filth coming out of his mouth. But they wouldn't condemn him. They wouldn't pull him up. And this man sitting in the Senate and is called honorable. And he has hopes and aspirations of returning as Minister of Sport once again, come 2025. And how does he plan to do that? By continuing to spread a campaign of lies and propaganda and nastiness. And his leader wouldn't pull him up and tell him, hey, take it down. Tear down. Failing to realize that the people whose votes they so need to cross the finish line are totally turned up by that level of nastiness. Right? The undecided voter who may not necessarily be affiliated to or inclined to any particular party, but votes based on issues and the party that they believe is best positioned to deliver on those issues. That simple thing as that. So they don't care that when he want to come and do a doubles and coffee and talk about, Rowley have a couch, a red couch down in some room, and you have to walk past 2 dogs and a parrot and all kind of stupidness, and then you go and he just had them woman and them lie down and skin up on the red couch and all kind of thing that he does do, and how many female ministers were appointed because they have an affair with Dr. Rowley. All kind of nastiness of the likes. And then when it is that you have, every year we have the youth parliament taking place. And these young people in preparation for the youth parliament would turn the parliament channel on so they could get an idea what is required to debate in a parliament, posture, and all of these different things we need to know. And they look in and seeing this man there, right? That when it is, you could turn your back on the president of the Senate because you have an issue. That is how you treat with issues. So that even if it is they want to go on the Facebook pages of these people to get some ideas, that is the nastiness that they have to be subjected to. The filth that they have to be subjected to, and it comes from only one place, because somebody like he would never make it in the PNM. And I always give the example that Ansel Antoine, right, had been selected to represent W. Mirror. And for the sake of going on a platform and saying one piece of stupidness that was deemed offensive, Dr. Rowley wasted no time in busting his throat and replacing him with Lisa Morris Julia. Let us not forget that. One thing he said on a platform that was deemed offensive, and he was gone. But this man, every day, nastiness after nastiness after nastiness, and features prominently in that party. So much so that when the leader mounts a platform to talk on the Monday Night Forum, she has no problem in referencing. And Anel, as Anel is saying, and said it. I don't know why they just call the Minister of Education bundles, but Anel can answer that. And you're proud of that. I am certain she looks at Douglaya politics. I am certain, because she had time to do nothing else. Right? She gets her talking points from social media. So I am certain she has seen many of these Douglas politics shows and doubles and coffee. And here's the nastiness that this man says. And she wouldn't pull him up. And he feels emboldened to continue. Just do and say what it is that he's doing. But that will never fly on this side. Never fly on the PNM side. Anybody like that, Dr. Roy don't want you nowhere close to him or close to the party to tarnish the party's reputation with that kind of nastiness. But that could only come from the barrel. That's a basket, a barrel of deplorables. And the supporters like that. They like that kind of thing. So every time he does a doubles and coffee, they will share it and comment. And when it is that you go on the page to comment, they want to attack you. But could never attack based on what it is that you raise. Not on the facts, They could never challenge the facts. They could never challenge the truth. So what they do, they want to come and always talk about some stupidness about, tell me about the teacher from Mason Hall who raped the school girl and she made child fame and all kind of foolishness. Kamala Prasad's sister was 16 years old when she met Gregory. Gregory was, I think, 18 or 19 years old. They got married when she was 18, 2 years later. So they were courting for 2 years. So are we supposed to believe that in that 2 years, what they were doing? Running behind big trees in an open field with flowers and singing East Indian songs? Singing love songs? And she only... That's what they were doing for the 2 years? That's what we're supposed to believe, right? Yeah. Nice. They had a Lucani for the whole 2 years that they were courting. They had a Lucani every time they went out. Because we're stupid. But the supporters wouldn't talk about that. Wouldn't make mention of that. Yeah? But we want to talk about Dr. Rowley, this and Dr. Rowley rape and who he rape and all kind of foolishness. And we do take ownership and claim his children. All you know that? You all know what is the man's relationship with his children? But he don't take all one, and that's why all vex. That is why he living rent-free in the heads of so many of them. Rent-free. And Roberts, Gary Griffith, Kamala Prasad, and a whole lot of the rest of them. That's all they could come with. After almost 9 years in office, all they can come with nothing of substance with respect to any kind of corruption. And that is what people appreciate in our government. First and foremost, right, that we have leaders that we could trust. So when Ole want to talk about, imagine Dr. Rowley going to Guyana, right, to attend a conference, an energy conference, to try and promote Trinidad and Tobago, to see you have energy players from around the world who have come to this conference. And it's an opportunity for him to sell and market Trinidad and Tobago because we have hydrocarbons too, right? But you want to do a doubles and coffee to talk about where is Rowley and children being killed in the country and so on, and where Rowley. Dr. Rowley went to do the country's business. He was invited by the president of Guyana to be the not the guest speaker, but the featured guest for some event that they have and so on, because they recognize the worth that he brings. Even if Ole in the UNC want to pretend that he brings no worth, others outside of Trinidad and Tobago see it, well, except for Barajadeo. I don't understand what is his issue with Dr. Rowley. But okay, I understand. Let me not say I don't understand. I understand exactly what his issue is, right? We know who his friends are in Trinidad and Tobago. And so therefore, any overtures that Dr. Rowley makes to try and bring some synergy between the Trinidad and Tobago energy sector and that of Guyana, Barajadeo always have something to say. But you want to do a doubles and coffee to come and criticize Dr. Rowley, where Rowley, and Rowley abandoned the country, and children getting killed, and all of these different things. So no children got killed when Kamala Prasad was Prime Minister. What about the two teenagers who were killed in East Port of Spain when she was Prime Minister, and she went to shed crocodile tears for the family, and she's so sorry, yeah. To fool who? What did she do to improve? She put a police post on Duncan Street or something there, and that's all that she did. Right? And she introduced Color Me Orange, $69 a day, come for 3 months. We gain only $69 a day to paint some of these buildings. So to fool all, yeah. Right? And then just before the election, come and tell all, here what? We will willing to wipe out any debt that you have, went to HDC, and we will sell you your units for $100. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Come, $100, and we will sell you these units. And then if they had taken up that opportunity now, because Kamala gave me the house for $100 by we get this apartment, and therefore you relinquish and relieve HDC of any responsibility, right, for maintenance of these units. So that if they have any problems after that, HDC will say, well, only buy that fair and square for $100. That's only a problem now to fix that. That is no longer HDC's property. The deed belongs to you all. So don't call us. Thank goodness that the folks, the residents of East Port of Spain, had the good sense to tell them rock so with that. Take that and go so. Don't come and try to fool. We ain't stupid here. We understand what the implications of that are. Tell them to go so. Right? Today, when this administration now is trying to revitalize East Port of Spain, all of those apartment buildings, they're not saying let's rehabilitate the buildings and do some superficial thing and come and change the roof and maybe a few windows and so on. They recognize that these buildings need to be demolished in its entirety and rebuilt for the benefit of these citizens. Who telling them, no, don't listen to Rowley and them, you know. They try to fool Ole, they go tell Ole, put in Ole here and put in Ole there, but when they finish building apartments, that's for the 1%. Ole ain't coming back here. The 1% tell Ole they want to go around in the back there? Really? But you have some softheads who buying into that foolishness and supporting that. But we will see where that will go. And I don't really think that is going to go anywhere, per se. But still, the fact that they continue to push that nonsense at every turn that this administration tries to do something to uplift that community, the UNC always try. And if it is that they're not talking about race and Rowley do like black people and Rowley PNM supposed to be African party, but watch how much Indian Rowley have in the cabinet and look who Rowley given all the persons that he given the best ministries to is a set of East Indian and this and that. But always talking about the PNM blowing the racial dog whistle. Always talking that stupidness. Right? But nobody could come into the defense to say, Anil Roberts, you're talking rubbish. Go from here with that stupidness. Ably supported by the rest of the members of that party. ably supported, right? Wouldn't come out and deal with that. All of these so-called community leaders, where are you all? Where you also come and talk about that? And you see, unfortunately, the residents of some of these areas too have to take blame, because the, the unfortunate the killing of the 12-year-old boy, who unfortunately died because, from what I read, stray bullet, right? He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Condolences to his family. There should have been protests for that. There should have been protests for that, and not for the sake of protests against government. Protest against those persons who continue to do these things and to harm your community because they're living in the community. And it is time that the residents of these communities speak up and tell these fellas enough is enough. You know why? Because they know who these guys are. They know who they are. But everybody crying, not me, not me, say, no, nothing, I can extend, they come and kill me, so let me hush my mouth. Nobody's saying you need to stand up as an individual, and if it is your concern. But if you all stand up as a community, maybe the family members, the relatives of these guys can tell them, boy, what's stupidness all they doing, boy. There's a little 12-year-old boy, all they kill. All they want to, all they feel, all they need to settle, all they turf war with muscle and with gun. Okay, no problem. All they want to do that, fine. And continue to tarnish the country's reputation. Yeah, but understand, outside of our school, really? So they have no respect, no care for these little children, innocent in this thing. Where is the community to come out and tell these fellas, stop all this stupidness? Stop it. They ain't doing that. But if the police had catch up with a couple of them and open fire and 2-3 of them get killed, protest. Protest. We want to burn tire and all of that. And we want justice. They're too wicked. We want justice. Where is the justice for Ezekiel? Where is the justice? Fortunately, the police held two men and have them in custody right now with respect to that matter. We'll see what comes out of that. But we need more of that too. Swift response from the police. That if it is that the community is not willing to stand up, at least the police could do their work. But this family is in mourning, this mother is in mourning because this child had dreams of becoming a pilot. Well, he get his wings just in the wrong way, unfortunately. Unfortunately, but you know, this morning, the UNC have a press conference. This Sunday morning, waste a time press conference to come and talk about that. How children die in the country and we rowdy in K and rowdy in this and rowdy in that. But when the same rowdy talk about going into the communities to spend $100 million, well, they have an issue with that. What are you going to do with that money? Are we going to get that money too? Right. It's 12:17, as I said, I have to wrap up soon, but just to touch quickly on one more thing I see in terms of Gary is pressing ahead with plans by his party to screen 41 candidates for the upcoming election. So I think it's very safe to say now that that accommodation is dead. So we, if it is that we are going to see any kind of repeat of 2010, it's going to be very small. It's not likely to be 5 parties, right? Not likely to be 5 parties going forward. So we'll see how that pans out. But just about a year or so to go, you don't have too many options left for the UNC to form any kind of coalition with. And perhaps I believe that what they may have done, they would have looked at the results of the local government election in those districts that they ceded to the NTA and would have come to the realization that Gary Griffith just didn't make sense. Because much of the votes that they would have gotten in all of these districts, a lot of it would have come from the UNC supporters. But because the UNC didn't have a candidate, those votes went to the NTA. And to add insult to injury for them is that that they were able to get an alderman in the Diego Martin Borough Corporation. And because the NTA would have fought the seats, most of the seats in the Diego Martin Corporation, even except for I think Marsha Walker, who contested her district under the UNC banner. But nevertheless, because of that accommodation, her votes would have counted for them getting one alderman. The NTA then decided to put a former PNM member in the person of Paul Nahus to serve as the alderman. So if that wasn't a slap in the face of Kamala Persaud, I don't know what is. Because I'm sure they would have preferred to have somebody who maybe like Don Sylvester, right, to put him up. But no, and they probably get cussed from Don too. And the other UNC people don't on that side. Well, let me vote for this party and what should they come and do? Gary Griffith couldn't find nobody other than a former PNM man a man who was strong in the PNM not too long ago. But as I always say, once a PNM, always a PNM. They could say what they want. They could say what they want. Karen Nunes Teixeira, Louis Leasing, and the rest of them. Once a PNM, always a PNM. All. Twiggy was expelled from the party, I think, too, and Harry Raghunandan. But yet still, there's still PNM. Mind it is bad talk the government now and again, but it's Dr. Oli have an issue with, not necessarily the party. Because they understand and they know what the PNM has done for the development of this country. And so when the supporters of the UNC want to pretend and talk about the PNM and do nothing in the, as they like to say, the 60-something years that they was in power, rubbish. They know the truth. Once a PNM, always. So it's very Paul now, me and who he fooling. Because even if Paul decided he wanted to link up with the NTA, chances are that his family members who were PNM before are still PNM. So when you go to family gatherings and stuff, what are they talking? It's PNM they're talking. Tell him, Paul, what are you doing, boy? Well, look at Gary, thing, but we's PNM. What are you going to do? Paul, you're good, we. Anyway, 770-1763. Let me just get this here. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
You hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Very good, very good. So this idiot they call Dublaya. So he's talking about right and wrong and ethics and principle and so on as it relates to the current president of the country.
Yes.
I wonder if he remembers. And you would know about this, Mr. Romain, as being associated with the heritage sites around Port of Spain.
Yes.
Around the savannah, and that included President's House.
Yes.
I wonder if he remembers, as you I'm sure would remember, that President's House at that time, when that character was president, was in a state of disrepair. And do we not remember that the state provided housing for him and his family at Flagstaff Hill?
Yes.
And is it not a fact that he continued to receive the 28,000 allowance for housing allowance?
Correct.
The 28,000, and notwithstanding the fact that the matter was raised in the public domain over and over, the fact is, and the evidence would show, that he never stopped taking the allowance. And that went on for years.
Correct.
I'm not maligning any man, I'm just talking the facts. He continued to receive the 28,000 monthly allowance for housing, while the state had provided adequate housing for him and his family at Flagstaff Hill.
Yes.
On Long Circular Road, by the mall. And also, I wonder if this idiot you call Dublaya, talking about ethics and right and wrong, I wonder if you remember that their president, same man, their president, exercising power that he doesn't have, never had. You remember he summoned Edmund Dillon, who was then Minister of National Security.
Yes.
And he summoned him to his, now that's when PNM had already won the election in 2015. And Dillon was their first Minister of National Security. He summoned Dillon to President's House to sit down and discuss crime, behaving as if he had executive powers as president. And I remember Dr. Rowley was very discreet. He expressed a view on it, but he was very careful and very discreet in his remarks. He said, this is unheard of. This is unheard of. It should not have happened, but it happened. And that is the legacy of their president. So when this character, as you call him, this loutish, big mouth wretch, talking about attacking President Carla Kangaloo for what he feels is a misguided appointment.
Yes.
A misguided appointment. He should just shut up. I was not the one who people were calling out Juve morning wrong the savannah, half drunk. Yeah. I wasn't the one. It was he. Talking about ethics and right and wrong. I wasn't the one either. No, you see, his behavior is a reflection of the party he belongs to. It's a reflection of the leadership of that party. She make a big show to fire him from the Ministry of Sport over the livestock bacchanal. But she brought him back after a public meeting in Digo Martin and put back this character in the Senate of this country, to refer to the Prime Minister's wife as being unfaithful, of accusing her of infidelity to Dr. Rowley, and that she was with an Indian man from India, which the man vehemently denied it. He knows the family, he knows his family, he loves his family, he has nothing to do with the Rowleys. He accused President Ptolemy Weeks. You remember the insinuations of lesbianism?
Yes.
Yes, of lesbianism.
Making appointments to pump politics.
Pick up the slack and run with it.
Yes.
And talk about Bishop's Tea Party.
Yes.
Bishop's Tea Party. That is a nasty, under the radar slur on one, President Ptolemy Weeks, Bishop's ex-girl, Mrs. Sharon Rowley, ex-Bishop's Anstey girl, former chairman of the Police Service Commission, Blitzy Prasad, ex-Bishop's girl. That is the context in which we must view that statement by the Cesar. Don't look at it innocently. When you talk about Bishop's Tea Party, the insinuation is very clear, and it was revealed by Roberts. It was revealed by Roberts in one of his lives about people suggesting lesbianism and holy alliance among three women. And that is the context in which you must view Bishop's Tea Party.
Yes.
Rubber dub, three girls in a tub. That is what he is suggesting. And you have this nastiness, drunk from the Savannah Carnival Day, and coming here, but they are, you see here, naked. The president, Ptolemy Weeks, is an insipid jackass. He, Robert, all of them, they all peas in a pod. They belong to the same, as you say, basket of deplorables. And I will leave you with one thing. I'll even right now, but I'll make a bet with you. Who's the standard bearer going against the appointment of Hayden Giddens? Who is standard bearer? Wait, man, the other night, lied to the parliament about judiciary, get message from judiciary. Wait, Mark, you know what is this sad commentary and all of that? You realize Stanko didn't say anything. Munila didn't say anything.
Correct.
Hossein didn't say anything. But they get Mark to do it. They get Mark to do it. He is a black man. Hayden Giddens is a black man. And they get him to come and talk about the man is the Speaker of the House neighbor and all this kind of thing. Look at you. Look at you, Wade Mark. Look at you. Look at you, shameless African man. I have no compunction in describing you like that. You know why? When Robinson made Pandey Prime Minister of the country, he was walking on eggshells. You were chairman of the UNC at that time. Pandey gave you a full ministry. Minister of Public Administration, you were in the cabinet. And guess what? Come 2000 election, Pandey win on his own with no help from anybody, unlike 1995 with Robinson, who made him Prime Minister. 2000 election, win on his own. Guess what he do? Made Wade Mark a junior minister out of the cabinet. You want any more evidence of racism and cherry picking to reveal their nasty racist ways? That is it. And look at the standard bearer. Look who they pick. The man who Pandey spit on after 2000. They use him to attack Hayden Giddens. I feel sorry for our people sometimes. I will leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Right, give me 1 sec there, Jen. You see, that has always been typical of them because when they wanted, so let me get this here. Remember they used Rodney Charles, spin the wheel man, to back up Dr. Rowley? Every day, dress up in a 3-piece suit and go and stand up in the corner with a wheel and spin the wheel to find out what topic you're going to talk Dr. Ravi about. Why they didn't send Dave Tanku? Why they didn't send Ravi Ratiram? No. See what they picked? Doppy. And he was only too happy to go and do it. Let's know it, John. 1 sec. Let me just see. Jenny.
Hi, good afternoon, Dominic.
Hi.
Good afternoon to all those who are tuning up to facts and stubborn things. I just want to make this point quickly and then I'll move on. There's somebody on the live going by the name of Rick. I don't know if it's a man or a woman.
Ricky here.
He does give talk. And when they give him talk, he does go and report it to Facebook. So they'll be very conscious of that. They love to give talk. But when you give them the answer back, they just run with the tail between the leg, and as usual, go into master the white man to complain. But let me continue. I want to touch quickly on this 4%, and it ties into what you have been saying in the sense that people, basically, they're not listening, they're hearing, and they're just hearing what they choose to hear. And based on the emotional space they're not making proper decisions because they hear news that if you listen to it carefully, you will understand it makes no sense and it's fake. Right, so I'm starting on that. In 2019, Aaron McLeod, he blasted the trade union movement for being too involved in politics. And he went on to say the protests that you're seeing, they're not genuine. So I continue. And in 2021, the Minister of Finance would have said that if you were to offer 9% for the period 2014 to 16, it will cost the government $7.2 billion. Now that is in the space where Joala Rambaran came out and said that this country had 2 recessions in 2015 and were going on. And also oil prices in 2014, 15 and onwards had drastically dropped, sometimes to $26 a barrel, while Kamala was enjoying 2010 to part of 15, oil prices the highest ever in this country, over $100 a barrel. Those are facts. And then you know this government was hit in 19, 20, 21, 20, going on there with COVID-19. So I'm setting the scenario. So the Minister of Finance was saying in 2021, if the government were to offer settlement at 9% to the unions, it will cost $7.2 billion. He said versus if they were to get 3% for the same period 2014-16, and it was agreed upon with a consolidation of COLA and the reintroduction of a cost of living allowance at the current rate of $225, the cost of the country would be $3.8 billion. I am asking PSA this morning, if you all had settled for the 3% with the consolidation of COLA, because right now, with the 4% for 6 years, there's no consolidation of COLA, right? But if you take the 3% for the period 2014-16, knowing that Joala Rambaran had said in 2015 the country was in recession and that the country went through a situation with COVID-19. So the government wasn't making money when they came in 2015. In fact, they made a 14% increase in wages that Kamala knew they could not have paid public officers. So they left the government with that debt, incoming government to that debt, had to borrow money to pay that 14%. And then you had the unions still marching now for the period 2014-16. And you had the Minister of Finance saying, in the circumstances of all that, if you all agree to 3% for 2014 to 16 with a consolidation of COLA and the reintroduction of the cost of living allowance and the current rate at $225, it will only cost the country $3.8 billion, opposed to a 9%, which will cost the country $7.2 billion. And PSA, none of them in settle for that then, So I go back to what Aaron McLeod said. He said that the union had become too involved in politics and the protests they have in it genuine. And we know in 2019, or in fact from 2017 here, Watson Solomon Drew, because the president of PSA, was heavily involved in politics. He became the minority leader in Tobago, and then he went on to form his own party, and in 2021, the party won the THA election. So you see the point I'm trying to make to all you? So when they want to make you believe it's the government and the Minister of Finance and the CPO wicked, ask PSA why they didn't settle for the 3% for the 3 years, and when I get a consolidation of COLA, why they didn't do that? And in 2019, Drew came on TV, and he told us on social media that the Minister of Finance offered him a settlement for the period 2014-16, but he ain't opening it. He will open it in 2020. We have never heard what was offered. So that is why I'll continue to say again, PSA have public officers where we are today on 2013 salary, on 2024, and we might go so until 2026. But when I talk, well, let's have a problem. And finally, for the bald-headed, drunken, stink-mouth one, I want to tell me talking about bias and perception. When Kamala was paying Shree's sister, who she says some big nurse, $868,258, must have pulled up she underwear upon she bride, don't know. That in bias and perception created. When Wade Mark's wife, when he was the Speaker of the House, she became appointed on the board of T&Tech. That not bias and perception there when she had a massaging chair for $26,000 when she was pregnant. That a perception and bias there, or you stink, yes? When Kamala was appointed, she appointed several private sector journalists to positions in the government and government information services limited. There was no bias and a perception like she wanted to buy out the media to talk in favor of the government at the time which was she government. When Jawala Ramran was appointed central bank governor, when it had people more senior and more experienced than he, that then created a bias and a perception, and then we was hearing it alleged he's the son-in-law of someone who in the government. So what are they talking about? When Kamala gives herself on the age, she appointed herself and get herself silk. And then they went on to offer it to the CJ and the appeal court judge, Mr. Kangaloo, Justice Kangaloo. That is not perception and bias. When Kamala gave the churches and then $55 million gift, that is not bias and perception was created. And Wade Mark again for you, because you're an spitty mouth, dirty mouth, stinking one. When you went and set your exam to get your MBA by yourself in a room because you have anxiety, that's in perception and bias. We know if you had a book inside and we're just copying all the questions and from the answers in the book. So when all the talking, all the talk straight, that's why they could never like we Dominic. And all who will be talking the truth. Because you know why we like a turn in the side. Because the truth, you can't hide the truth. And 2024, that next dirty sellout one talk about yeah crime. This is the year truth. And we go have them running. They want to hide because the truth is our brute. And we will not stop talking the truth because the truth is all we have. And people who don't want to hear and don't want to listen, they go feel, they go hold their head and bawl. But don't come to we after to say something. Because you have a time now to say something and do something. When 2025 comes, to make sure that you're not stay home and ball. The two parties is the same, ain't going on vote. I don't like UNC, I don't like PNM. And stay on home, don't go and vote. And when UNC come back and bring this country to nothing, don't say if, coulda, shoulda, woulda. You have an opportunity in 2025 to go out and vote resoundingly for the People's National Movement. And we don't have to thief no cry from nobody. Great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM. And they have prevailed from 1956, remain PNM from 1956 to now. They ain't changed 7 and 8 times from PDP, ULF, Club 88, DLP, SDLP, Farmers Worker. We never change. Let it take that and they smoke it. Thank you, Dominic. Have a blessed week ahead and all those who are tuning in up to.
Thank you, Jen. So I just want to read this post quickly from Jalen Rupnarayan, who is a current UNC counselor on the Tunapuna Regional Corporation, right? So she puts out a post short while ago. A traitor will always be a traitor. An opportunist will always be an opportunist. Loyalty will always be loyalty. And no one can make you do something you don't want to do. And you just crawl before you walk. Patience is virtue. The sun will rise again. Kamala is a boss and is that. So she's obviously throwing this out for Gary Griffith, right? So they've started to throw the knives at Mr. Griffith because basically that interview that he did with Mikey K didn't pan out the way they had hoped. And I'm sure that if Mikey K knew or suspected that Mr. Griffith was going to say what he said, he would never have had that interview, right? And he sought to cut it short quickly. Marsha Walker, in response to Jalen, says, loyalty to what is the question? We stand on platforms and talk about the PNM being a cult, keeping secrets for each other, then act exactly as they act. Loyalty to party over country, loyalty to a human being over loyalty to God, loyalty to wrongdoing over loyalty to ethics. Somebody give you a seat, give, you didn't deserve it. Somebody give you a chance and then expect you to keep secrets for them. They bought your soul with that chance. We accuse Amory and Penny of selling out. We tell them silence is consent, but we doing the same thing. Kamala is boss because you're in a safe seat. Every safe seat losing ground, but you're talking about loyalty. And when a child taking longer to walk and usual to walk, we seek professional help. When we should be running, we're still crawling. We need to reevaluate what we're loyal to, and we certainly need to measure if it's patience or negligence. Right now, Ole being as patient as Paria was with our divers, and there comes a time when action is critical. That's Marsha Walker there, right? They want to run the country, but self-including. If they're fighting with the Mahasabha, and clearly the Mahasabha under VJ want nothing to do with it, right? So it's Dinesh and what's that son name again? Versus the rest. So anyway, we see how that plays out. That's now I call her. Give me 1 sec. Let me just get it. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Dominic.
Yes, sir.
What's going on?
All is well.
With your partner?
I realize.
Hey, Dominic.
Uh-huh.
I realize why your good friend Juliet will be cutting me off.
Why is that?
You see, she doesn't allow Kingsley to talk. She doesn't allow Mova Defender to talk.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't allow KFC to talk.
Uh-huh.
But when it comes to me, she cutting me off. So I went back in the computer and I realized why she doesn't cutting me off.
Uh-huh.
Remember, I told you how the Emancipation Day, when Jenny was doing the live to the city, and she bounced up Juliet. Juliet didn't even come and talk to Jenny and to say hi to the people. The man she was walking with, good up the Savannah, I'm not saying that was the man. But the man wanted to come and talk to Jenny. And Juliet was only pulling him out, come on, let me go. And Juliet didn't go and say, hi, Jenny, hi, people, how are you going? Juliet didn't say nothing. So she mumbled here when I said that, so she vexed. But she feel like business. But she already know me and you. Dominic, I will leave it here.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, darling.
Hi.
Remember the child who got killed in Maloney?
Yes.
When he was Prime Minister? Raped, dumped in a barrel. A child was killed in St. Joseph by his dad. John left in a cesspit.
Yeah.
A girl was killed in a sea loss, raped and killed under an empty plot of land. Where was Kamala then?
And don't forget the family that was killed up in Paria, the baby, the child.
That's right.
That was
a child.
Yes.
She was 16 months old.
Correct.
Who was raped. Now, Anthony is for them, kidnapped, tortured
yes.
by Asmund Alexander.
Correct.
Who he want a Bible and he do like sardines. Where the hell was that demon from hell called Kamla? How flippin' kiss me foot pretenses. How they forget when an old man was dumped, killed, they kidnapped him. The man could not fight. His bank card and his ID card. Invaders Bay. Where the hell were those kiss me foot demonic hypocrites? Integrity and a hush your bald head, but you are a hypocrite, Mrs. Rowley. Who the hell are you, little boy? If he was man, your wife wouldn't own you. You only poster child for horn. When Sharma stabbed the outside woman in the mall, when Glenn grabbed somebody's breast, what is that? When Glenn Dopey sings son slaps somebody Brooklyn bar, or they want to talk ready, Anel? Hypocrites of the highest order. Anna Ram, and I call his name Bold and Brave, stole 3.3 million from TSTT, and that criminal went up to local elections. How is that? You have Foggy David Lee and a $1 deal talking. UNC is a criminal political party, and I stand by what I say. Watch them well. How you could correct crime? When the woman had weed in her property. How is that? Are you serious? You have Dumpson Duke who on rape charges, but they're quiet. I think Gregory Bethesda was 22 when Cam was 16 years old. Living in a house together. They put all the house. Oh, Gregory, hold my hand and I hold yours. Kuchila, kuchila la, kuchila, Elitana. Satmaraj was 22 years old. His wife was 14 years old. That is rape. That's big of pedophile. You want to talk? Rory and his girlfriend, I'm sorry, was a couple of months apart. When you marry a child who cannot vote, who can't drive, who can't drink, who can go to the bank, what is that? He was a big handbag old quink. He was 22 and she was 14. But that's nothing, right? How you could let a girl child live in a house with a man? Kamla, what man of young girl were you? You had no class. Because if you were a lady, not female, if you're a lady by attitude, you would not live in a man in a house at 16 and 22. So don't go there. Because you're under the fan and the fiddle hit your face. People do not vote UNC because they are demonic. Guard your future. Guard your children's future. And can tell you, jump on a matic and sail away because you have no purpose. You're inept, incompetent, and senile. When you look at your party, Kamla, and you see criminals who in it shouldn't talk. And here, Robert, each time you talk, you expose yourself because your party is clean. Mud is always mud. You could be a swine, but a swine returns his mud. It was G-string Gary. Gary, last year, you were the platform Kamla. What happened this year? Is the day predicted about tomorrow? You now know that they're criminals. Can I tell you, the husband with the last winter, Take a rest. Come have a good day and weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. Come back, Brian. You know, this lout have the audacity to come and talk about perceived bias and so on. You were the man, it was reported, that took Adolphus Daniel to meet Larry Hawaii. Before he got the contract, the $34 million contract to teach maths and English to the participants in the live sport program, right? $34 million of taxpayers' money for which we never got a sticker, chalk, pen, pencil, dust, and nothing, not a paper clip. You took the man to meet with Larry, talk at this thing, and then afterwards he got a contract. Was this sole select? Did you all put this out to tender? How many people bid for that contract? So there was no perceived bias there with respect to that. How did you meet Adolphus Daniel? What was your relationship to him? Did he come to you and propose this conveniently? Or you had a relationship with the man a long time, you know him as your friend or whatever it is? But you had no problem with that. But want to come now and talk about luck. Anyway. Brian, good afternoon
to you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to your listeners and callers. Sister Jenny forgot one person. The imps from Princestown also had a relative too in his office, remember? And he asked the question whether or not he should pay back the money. Right? So he was another one too.
Yes.
You understand? But you see, Dominic, the issue is here that as much as we're talking, and we have to continue talking, because the media, especially on particular radio stations that some of us listen to, can't wait to get information and straight off the tower, the stove had turned off yet to put it in the news. Because I had to listen this morning at 8 o'clock this morning, and this is some of the stupidity I'll be listening to, because nobody ain't gonna talk about it. But Gary Abul had to come now with his own conspiracy theory again, as it pertains to what is happening out in the Ghanaian Passage with respect to the overturned vessel, the barge. Because now his new prognosis and diagnosis that he wants somebody to call Interpol because there's a cover-up and it concerns the government and Venezuela and so on. And something to do with Iran and Iraq. Now, where is this really going? That was the 8 o'clock news this morning. Is it that these people don't want this dragon deal to really bear fruit? Why they continue to call Venezuela name? You realize nobody calling Guyana name on that side?
Correct.
Nobody. Now let me tell you this. They could call Trinidad and Tobago government all they want, but since the refinery closed down, let me get to the history. We used to blend the bunker, the resin, right, to reduce crude, the resin, right, out of the vacuum units. And we would put gas oil in it in order to reduce the viscosity, in order to sell it as bunker fuel for vessels. We have no refinery running, Dominic, since 2018. And when I'm talking about Trinidad and Tobago, we buying gas oil, we buying gasoline, we buying aviation fuel, we are buying no bunker sea fuel, we're not bunking any vessel. So to want to talk about the government and the government is some cover up. Where is the going with this? But they have nothing else to say. And this is the same, and that's making news 8 o'clock. You know what was in 12 o'clock news while you were talking, Dominic? Guess who was in 12 o'clock news while you were talking?
Who is that?
The stupid meeting that I saw on Sunday morning with Wayne. The Muslim fella now. Talking about the Prime Minister responsible for all the children and what's going on in Lavantel. And he's solely responsible and he ain't doing nothing about it. Really? The next one from Tobago, that make news too. Because he want to meet with the Prime Minister. He was the Prime Minister since the 12th of January. And the Prime Minister really ain't responding to he. Because he have a problem with crime in Tobago. But them don't want nobody. They want the Prime Minister to mind the business. They want the Prime Minister to deal with the issues as it pertains to crime in Tobago and Trinidad. Mind your damn business in Tobago. We're going to handle these stories, but all of a sudden the crime getting out of hand. And I had to listen to the attorney who always coming and boys, please, Christopher, come across here and talk with us and see what they could do. Why they call on the chief secretary to deal with that? But you see, the waiter must something to stick. That is why you gotta have that foolish Douglas liar, that drunken, the Grey Goose granny, always trying to get something to stick because nothing is sticking. But something coming just now because Gary Griffith on the tail now. Just a few months ago, Gary was the best thing since sliced bread. Humble yourself, Honorable Prime Minister. Gary Griffith has to be in on the talk. Today, you're hearing nothing. Apparently, Gary Griffith ain't going to the crime talks all you're having. He ain't no good all of a sudden, or they don't need him anymore. And that is what we have to live with in this country. Because they come and they lie to us, and people running with it. Running with that stupidity. You understand? When they're ready and they don't use you and abuse you and they kick you out. Now you realize, oh God, they're criminal because you used to give people $5 million to go box drain. You didn't know that all the time? I want to ask you a question, G-string man. What time you used to get up to come to work? Tell me, 4 o'clock in the morning? You want to change that? Tell us. But we will hear more from you. Because they ain't taking your calls. They're taking your calls. They tell you they're busy. They don't want to hear you anymore. You have to look for your own party and your own people. That is what it comes down to, Dominic. Mm-hmm. And these people don't want to learn. Like Marsha Walker and Gypsy and all the others will get a swift kick in the butt. But then they will just continue to fall by the wayside. The next one to fall is that fellow they call sellout. He's the next one to fall. Stay tuned. Take care.
Indeed. Thank you so much, sir. But let them continue to choke Gary. They know Gary have a problem, has an ego problem. And the more they want to call him traitor and opportunist, let them go ahead. Just remember, Gary does keep WhatsApp messages. Gary keeps copious notes. And when they choke him enough, he will talk. Just remember that, because if all they want to come up against him and it's his party against yours in the general election and he looking to win seat, he vying for the 150,000 Congress of the People supporters who he says still out there. Go ahead. Continue to fight. BJ Maharaj, Sat's son, see if it is that he doesn't fulfill Sat's promise to you, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, that you're going to free up the Hindu vote. Go ahead. Oli and Gary. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dominic. Yes, Dominic, how are you?
I am good, man.
Enjoying your program.
Thank you.
It was going good until Mr. Libede come and give a so-called negative contribution. I don't know how I don't know how we bring Juju into this. Right? Anyhow, Dominic, with all the background that is going on, you know, the media not even talking about what's going on with the UNC itself. You know that there's an internal civil war going on there?
Yes.
Certain people want to bust on that truth. A certain MP not attending crime meetings.
Tell them leave her right there.
Huh?
Leave her right there.
Yes. A certain MP in Chogwana not attending crime meeting. If he's angry,
yes,
he's distressed with the leadership of Canada. Then I have another MP who said that he wanted to develop Mayaro. He's too looking for leadership. Then I have the other one. Let me call him the Pussycat, who is supposed to be the so-called successor to the party. But I don't know whether he's coming or going. So there are about 3 or 4 factions within the UNC fighting for leadership. And let me tell you something. You see that gentleman like Mr. Sarenkojo? He should be the last person talking about the year crime 2024. Well, as you talk about all the good things that Mr. Foster comments introducing to the young, displaced African people, African youth in this country, why you ain't talking anything positive about the Homestead program? Does Mr. Kojo know about what the Homestead program entails? No, he want to talk about that.
Yes.
But when the guns and bullets, all about white collar crime is a crime too. But then you can't talk about it because one of them, IMP, is linked to human trafficking, and our next one is a $1 million bill.
Yes.
Right? And don't forget, our next one too is connected with TMPD. Right? That's another mindset. And all those so-called unions and question about the so-called 4%, 4%. Let me tell you something. If they had negotiated properly, and I'm still saying it already, all this, I'm blaming it on one person. The gentleman from Tobago, who was the head of the PSC. Now he's fighting for a pool now, trying to survive his political life. As far as I'm concerned, he's nobody. He is the one who's responsible for that 5%, 4% cap. People mustn't forget that he is the one who signed for the 5%. And let's see what's going on today. It is he that caused all the bacchanal with that PSA and the negotiation, and it's he who caused all the mess in Tobago. Courtesy of his successor, who is now the head of the PHA. It is he who had to blame. Dominic, you have good.
You too, sir. Plenty of them. Mr. Chance, call me back. Mr. Chance. Yeah. Take another call or two before I jump off. Call me back, Mr. Chance. So I see someone is saying here, time to change, not UNC or PNM, vote for any other party. Okay, who's the other party to vote for? Gary, NTA? When it is that you could join up at a party, right? And you know they have baggage of a criminal nature. But just because you want to get into office, you are willing to overlook that. Now they're treating you bad, right? Because they realize you didn't really make any contribution really to their local government effort. Notwithstanding the fact that they joined up with you in an accommodation or whatever it is they want to call it. They lost votes. They got less votes in 2023 than they got in 2019 when they went alone. So Gary the Great couldn't help them. Jacques Isbach couldn't help them. And the OWTU and Roger couldn't help them, right? But you were willing to line up with them. And even after the local election, I said you were going to continue in this alliance. Now, when you call them, they ain't taking your calls. They're busy. They will call you back and not returning your call. They've dismissed you because they see you as a nuisance, of nuisance value. You're not really bringing anything to the table. They get rid of you. Now, you want to go it alone and telling everybody I support you. When it is that you were willing to overlook the wrongdoing, sir, that is where you went wrong. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Jamaica just calling on behalf of the I shouldn't say soca artists, but the artists that work outside of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
People just believe that when they collect, let's say it's $250,000, that it goes straight into their bank account. You have to take into consideration they have to pay the backup dancers, the people who sing with them, all the people who play in the band, the seamstress, the designer, the manager. There's a whole lot of other people that has to be paid from when they get their winnings or earnings from outside.
Yes.
So when people feeling this big set of money they're getting, other people have to be paid too. And when you think during the COVID time, when all these people, all the musicians that would they would use as backup music or whatever, they were out of jobs also. So all these people, and I think one of the artists, she was a comedian, she said she lost her car during the COVID because she couldn't perform. So people just don't think it's that they make this lot of money outside and just go straight into their account. There are other people who will benefit from them singing out there also. That's what I wanted to say today.
Thank
Okay,
you so much, Carol. You too.
Bye.
Yes, and these are the things that they don't take into consideration. And all they see is the concert sell out. Like, yeah, boy, that man make big money by then. Whatever. Okay. They have to pay a lot of stuff. But very good. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
No, I saw something. Look, right? The app. Do you know Look?
You're breaking up, caller.
Yeah. Am I coming through better?
A little better, yes.
All right. So what I want to tell you, I saw an article on Look where Mr. Charles, Rodney Charles, says that he has placed the matter in the hands of his attorney because he says that the news media and government ministers have been misquoting him. Have you seen that article?
No, I haven't.
Well, when you come up, maybe you could take a peruse of the news. I got it on Loop, so maybe if you have Loop, you might be able to get it too.
Yes, I have Loop.
Because what he's saying is that what they are claiming is not what he said. You understand?
Yes.
So I'm eagerly awaiting. It seems to be mighty interesting. I'm wondering if he is just full of hot air, because sometimes if you light a sheet of newspaper, it flares up.
You're right.
And in a matter of a few seconds, it dies down. You understand? So I'm wondering in this instance if we are not seeing a situation similar to that.
Right.
But I'm eagerly awaiting this.
I will check on it.
Thanks.
Yes. Mr. Chance. Mr. Chance. Hello?
Mr. Dominic.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dominic.
Greetings.
Greetings. Good afternoon, sir. It's such a pleasure to join you again and to always contribute to a very interesting discourse.
Thank you.
On this platform. I first of all, I want to make a short comment on what I think Mr. Yates and I remember his Jen commented on it, on the appointment of Mr. Hayden Gittins.
Yes.
Right? That's the substance of what I want to say. But before I do so, I want to say that while I'm so proud of my government, because while the air is being saturated with artificial intelligence, fake news, conspiracies, the Prime Minister and his government continues to do their work. In that regard, I want to report that only today, the Ministry of Tourism indicated that we had an increased visitor arrivals for the 2024 Carnival, 71,010. And what was very interesting to me as a citizen is that the CSO, the Central Statistical Office, estimated that there was a visitor spending of $634 million.
Yes.
And last year, that's a comparison. Last year, the figure was $420 million. Are you seeing what is happening?
Yes.
That arrow is pointing up. And I want to say again, I want to say it again, despite the work of the recalcitrant UNC to sabotage the Carnival, we are seeing the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the visitors in the diaspora and outside of the diaspora still consider Trinidad and Tobago a destination of choice. And that is good news for me, because that is the trajectory we have to go on. The second piece of good news for me is that the government, in its wisdom, has decided to refurbish the Gene Bear complex at a cost of $36 million.
Yes.
That is a historic sporting institution and facility. In 1979, Trinidad and Tobago, the young people, 45 years ago rather, the young people will be passing and driving there, and they will say, we just met by the Gene Bear complex. But they don't have a connection. 1979, my young people, 45 years ago, your country, Trinidad and Tobago, was joint champions with England and Australia in the World Netball Championship. So this is a real place for young people. 45 years ago, and the government put up that building 45 years ago, and it is going to be refurbished now. So when you go to the Gene Care Complex, you'll understand what it means to you. 45 years ago, we were world champions. And the third point I want to make is that in the next couple of weeks, the government will open this new Sangre Grande hospital at a cost of $850 million. While all that old talk and conspiracy going on, the government is at work. The government has said they will open in March, and they have given us an update. And we are very close to that. So during this month of March, we expect to open the new Sangre Grande General Hospital, $850 million. I thought I'd put that into the atmosphere. But let me come finally to the question of Mr. Aiken. You know, the first thing I want to say, I heard my good friend Mr. Yates spoke about it. And the question is, I want to ask you, fellow citizen, why did they put way back to give that political attack on Aiken? Why? And that's the question I'm asking myself. Because I remember there was a man called, and I'm going to mention his name, and you all remember him, Carlton Denny. You remember that? Yes, he was a policeman who they put up on the platform. And what did he tell the people of Trinidad and Tobago? The UNC put him there. He told the people of Trinidad and Tobago that Dr. Rowley told him to fire all the East Indians in the SSA. I have the clip, and I'm going to send it to him again. Dr. Rowley made a full statement on that in 2019. And let me make the point again. They took this black man, Carlton Denny, to mash up another black man. You see the same thing again? This black man, roadmark, to mash up Hayden Gittins. But let me close by telling you why Hayden Gittins will not surrender to that. Because he has no false papers. Hayden Gittins has no false papers. Remember, they were putting a lot of people false papers, all at different heads, all over the country. False papers. But he has 40 years experience in the business of finance and so on. He's a master of business administration, master of science in accounting, bachelor of science in industrial relations, 20 years experience at Royal Bank in Jamaica, general manager of the Bank of St. Lucia, CEO of the Securities and Exchange Commission, now self-employed in the area of business and finance. Right? An impeccable record. And to be able to be the general manager and have all those positions, one of the important qualities you must possess is integrity. You understand? So his elevation to the position of chairman of the Integrity Commission is well deserved. 40 years experience, not a blot on his career, and nobody could challenge his papers. They are all true and authentic. Stand tall, Hayden Gittins. You deserve that position. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, stand tall, Mr. Gittins. So bother with them and the foolishness, the hypocrites. They have nothing of substance to offer, only obstructionists, but the government plows ahead. And I thank Mr. Chance for reminding us that the Sangre Grande Hospital will be opened in short order, state-of-the-art hospital with some of the best equipment. Sangre Grande Hospital has always, even the old hospital, has always been commended for the quality service that persons receive there. And so I expect we will only see better things to come. In short, this is one hospital that the UNC cannot say they built. Like they want to lay claim for the Arima Hospital, construction of which started after September 7, but they want to say that they built that. Right? And the Point 14 Hospital, they built that. Never mind the fact that construction started more than almost 2 years after they left office, but they built that. But let me see, it's 9 years later. Let me see you come and say you all built the Sangre Grande Hospital too and take claim for Central Block in Port of Spain, which is well underway. right? Well underway. So while we got one hospital for Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, the Cuba Hospital, which was built with borrowed monies from the Chinese, for $1 billion, for which this government has been paying interest and making payments on that, because I believe payments started sometime in 2018. So this is another expense that they left for this administration to find the money for. They didn't have to make that expense. That wasn't an expense for them. This government inherited that and had to start making payments after they left office. But with the money gone, and we want to know what Rowley do with the money and how much hundreds of millions and billions Rowley spent, is all of that. How much money Dr. Rowley has to be spending in interest on debts that they incurred. He had to find the money to pay the back pay for the 13% or 14% that they gave. He had to find the money for that. We don't talk about where the money gone and how much billions they get for COVID. Where is the evidence of that? Ask them. But they just pulling figures out of a hat and claiming that the government get $26 billion and how much $1 billion for COVID and all kind of foolishness. But all the when people were complaining, they apply for the grant and me get it yet and I'm mama guy thing. But almost 100,000 persons got either the salary relief grant or the income support grant. How many of them come back on social media who was cussing the government every day and saying that they is a lie and all kind of thing? How many of them come and say, yes, I get the money? How many of them? If you got 5, you got plenty. Right? But we don't credit the government for that. But anyway, that hospital will be open. Port of Spain Central Bank will be open to, again, state-of-the-art equipment. So the government is doing what is necessary to be done to improve the health sector. So no more complaints about you're going to hospital and this and that. $30-something million has been set aside to upgrade Mount Hope and San Fernando General Hospital. So all the complaints we get about the condition of the hospitals, it will be improved. Money is being spent for those things. For those things. Let me just take this last call here. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dominic.
Good afternoon, sir. I get that.
Yeah, just call it tell everybody, we are in a real bad state with these people. These people are really sick, let me tell you something. Imagine you turn a toilet and I in my young village, but yeah. What's that? All these people, so I heard you say something last time. I heard you say that you study out inside a UNC mind this thing, and we really are these kind of people here. The one like logic, simple logic. How you just call it donkey logic. This is, everything is a problem. These people, all they like to do is create mischief. They don't like to see nothing go good. Imagine that in COVID time, you take which opposition in the world take government of court for a COVID, for a pandemic, right? To put in measures in place.
Yes.
Dominic?
Yes.
These people could talk to you, right? And when you talk to them and explain something to them, they're ready to cuss you. They're ready to think because they have no how should I put it? Well, anyhow, fact is look up your own opinion, right? So that is my fact is a stubborn thing.
Yes.
And the reality is, Dominic, I want to just say something. You remember Malcolm Jones? When Malcolm Jones pay was something $1,000 a month, which is the president of Petrochun.
Yes.
You could remember, but the Pandey Posse at that time, Kamala did not reach any, something like that. They blaze and start to make noise to say, oh, that man in front and hear this type of money. And you know when them come in power, I think it's Khalid Hassan Ali. You know Khalid Hassan Ali?
Yes.
NC money was 100 something thousand a month. You see the hypocrisy how much, and nobody else said nothing about that. We in trouble enough. We in real trouble enough. We could only we could only we in real trouble because the type of people and then the insurance people and the insurance young Africans do something. So I saying that we ready to pray as the commissioner said because the people confused and they get there's strangle this strangling in government and strangling out of government. That's the bad part about it.
Right.
Them people destructive right through. Yeah. And you are this baller, I just call him, I don't call him Anil, I call him Anal, because with that coming out, that had to be from Anal, that can be from our mouth. You understand?
Yes.
Instead of Anil, you know, that, I wonder if these people sit down and listen to this man, and with the children. Something had to be wrong with the man.
Yes.
I will listen over here. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
It is 1:19. All right, let me just take this last one quickly and then I'm done. I have the jump up. Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Dominic.
Hi, good man.
All right. You know you're talking to, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm Dominic, but you know, UNCLM is so predictable that you could know how they do, what they do, and why they do it. What's something? Fali sat down with a conference with Dr. Rory, they're talking about the oil and those things. Right? Fali was interviewed right after outside, and Charlie made some comments, which is very reasonable and very thing to believe that it's an effort between THA and the central government to deal with this matter, which that is what it's supposed to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
After that, now, Fali Governance has spoken, but he received some WhatsApp message and something reports and Dr. Crowley and this and that. Anybody with any kind of sense will put two and two together and tell you that he got a call from them people of them and they tell me, hey, where are you doing this? Yeah, look the script. You have to go and say that. Put that in the public building. And so he come now and he say that. When after he put that in the public building, because he has to do it, he realized that is getting relics and stick to it, so he's trying to swindle the way of it and trying to make it look as that is not what you're seeing in something different. It's only to tell people in this country that you're dealing with these kind of people, the Gary Griffith, the Fali, and all these other people. But these people them have no country about themselves. Because look how Karen embarrassed them. Karen could have dated like everybody else and go through the normal avenues, but she wanted to be special. So she didn't want to think, so she wanted to pass, so she didn't follow no rules. You know, and that's why she could have pulled out her money from Pico, because of husband's money. And you're the finance minister, you knew what was happening when the public, the rest of the public in Tobago didn't have a clue for you. You run to take out your husband's money out of it, the deceased husband's money, but you want me to put you back, be in charge of the public goods again. That'll be, people are to be crazy. When you think about these kind of people offering themselves, you leave you no other choice than to put if you do the PNM, because you can't find no problem with the PNM with that. The kind of thing, you can't tell me you one PNM minister who you can point your hand and say, yes, look, you see the matter of so and so, look at it, the meantime. You see, look at PNM minister take his tax money to pay $3 million partner car. You can't find that thing. You know, just imagine you in a position that they still find it ways to swindle the taxpayers' money. And then when you look at what you're hearing, when you listen to Weed Mark, you want to notice an effort that them put in to put misinformation in order that they can get some money to get a loophole to swindle itself out of that disaster of Tobago. When you look at it, it's because why Weed Mark made this kind of statement? And then Weed Mark is somebody who has no credibility. Weed Mark is the man who said that he called and he deliberately said that he knew that he called didn't have that. Do you think Weed Mark didn't know that? And still say, and he killed the case. And the thing is about, he got you with what that was his basic plan. He gets you, you get twisted because the person didn't get a chance to talk in Parliament to explain themselves because Weed Mark shut it down. That was all about, and then Weed Mark come and say, well, you know, well, he's sorry, and then use the majority to keep Weed Mark in. That's the people we deal with on the other side. When Matcha had a right to step down, and he does still stay there right now. They bring him back as I don't know why I'm not bringing him back as a senator, but when Matt seems to have no ethics, no pride, and he doesn't care about his name. And matter of fact, guys, his family name. He don't care about that. So he's going back. He was if you reach the height of a speaker in your house, and you come back in the parliament as a senator and making a more fool of yourself again, asking some kind of brutish question, telling the government and what they should do and what you are getting involved and calling names of people who own ship and all kinds of things. Do you think I'm serious liability to what the Tobago government? You think that if the Works and Transport Minister or the Prime Minister makes any comment and it is not factual or it may be the other way around or some sort of thing is nothing. You know how that will deal with the whole matter of getting to get the truth under our whole set of thing. The person can all run to the court and block everything like we're trying to do now. And this is not about Trinidad and Tobago. This is about Trinidad and Tobago, the rest of the Caribbean, because as far as Guyana is saying, and I understand, is that they're not disputing that the vessel was destined for Guyana. So it was passing through Trinidad and Tobago waters en route to Guyana. And if it is true that the bulk oil was from Venezuela, then there are people who have to answer questions. And so I'm asking again, why is the UNC trying to study or to get somebody to get off it? Is it a friend in Guyana that they want to get off? Because the Guyana, the electrical plant that the people from there say, and the PIA from the Guyana Vice President, Guyana's Vice President is saying that he knows that the utility, they sent out some tenders, and the tenders went through and thing and that and who getting hired, there's a long kind of thing, but he's not getting down to say anything about what it is going on with the ship. So he's just throwing things out there, all kind of things. So you know what to look at things, but this goes to that also, so you try to confuse the population. But if it's true that the oil is really came from Venezuela, then there's something for the United States government to investigate it, and I think the United States government is already behind that already. Their internal bodies like the FBI and the CIA, they will already be looking at what transpired there. So that is something that the Ghana and them have to deal with the United States. It has nothing to do with us. And that you don't end of the story, but for some reason, UNC and through his agent, Fabio Agustin, is trying to make a link with that badge and button to the PNM and Dr. Rowley, and something to do with our with the plant, the gas, the thing plant that we had every shutdown. That was losing money.
Yeah.
They still just trying to still find that the refinery. Yeah. They're still find that after what it was on Facebook, somebody trying to find that. Somebody trying to say that Dr. Rowley shut down the refinery and that how much money we lose in. And you know the deliberately, they don't want to hear it. Some of them just illiterate, some of them know what it is funny to see that they can catch unsuspected people to believe in that rubbish they're talking. If you'd rather be spending so much money to refine oil into fuel and to sell it back at a low, that is no business. I don't know where nobody runs a business like that. And you have to shut it down. And actually, that is what shut down Petrotrin in terms of it run Petrotrin into receivership. So Petrotrin became bankrupt and they had was to do something. So the government and smart business business procedures, what you will do is you need to shut it down, you need to pay off all your creditors and themselves, you need to clear that and they clear your workers. And if you're starting afresh, you start afresh. So you have the company and the company is registered. So you see that Petrotrin there. If I commit some point and tell you that Petrotrin owe me money from back in 1962. I had to deal with that dead company that had nothing in it. Or I had to wait until some kind of thing comes in to see what I can get out of that. But then going forward, this new company is now making money. They don't have that debt to pay. And now they're contributing back to the pools of Trinidad and Tobago through taxes and those things. And that is what we want. That is good governance. But they want to tell us to continue running the dead refinery. And the refinery, and that causes we to pay more for gas. And they won't explain to the people that the government is subsidizing gas. I mean, when you put $100 in gas, that the government will be paying about $40 in gas for you. And they just couldn't afford to do because they're losing from buying the gas and refining it, and they're losing it from subsidizing. So when you end of each quarter, you're losing billions. To the end of the fiscal year, you can't afford to run the country like that, because if that was losing something like, maybe I'm just estimating, I am saying this is my thing, if I'm losing something like $4 to $5 billion annually, you have to put out $4 to $5 billion of profit of the keep it running back to the budget. So when you really estimate for your budget, like $4 or $5 billion you have to add to your budget. And if you're running a deficit budget, meaning that you have to borrow to make up the difference that you want to spend for the upcoming year, you borrowing that money to put it on offset, so you ain't making nothing of that money. I ain't want to go good businessman, anybody. If you just have a pattern, or you're pushing your water cat on the side of the road, and they're selling your water at $5 and $4 a glass of water. If you go run like that, if you go put all that kind of money to pay $6 for a bottle of water, just sell it back at $4 a bottle. That doesn't make any sense. And they're still settling that in one second. The UNC still settling that. So we have to tell them that if that's the way you all are not going to run this country, no way we can go through that in there again. And then when you look at Kamala's manifesto of the UNC, to spend the unspent balances out of NIB, and unit trust. Because you spend out, when you was in the 2010 to 2015, you spend out the exchequer just meaning that you overdraft. The government overdraft, you carry waves that it can't come back in a hurry. You can't use all of that now. When you couldn't get to use exchequer, when you carry that so far now, you go into NGC. You don't have to write savings, like NGC savings. There's $16 billion in NGC reserve savings account. You lick up all of that. And when we ask it to account for that money, you can't account it. So when they come in, we think they will not do against something. But the people them just want to listen. But you know what? You see what you're doing there, and you see people like us who call in and lay the facts as it is. I mean, what we do is we stick to the issue before us. Things that is actually done by the UNC, which they can't change. They try all of to change that through payments and whatever. They just can't change it because people like me and you, and Jenny Chance and Roddy Jr. and the other people, when they come, they say things, and then we pick up with it, and then we read and we go back to the articles and we read what these people do. They do it starts thinking to our minds too. That we always will remember what they did. So when they put in themselves a representation, you just have a block on them one time, because if you know that is what they do, God forbid they come back, they will not do this, because they have to cover up what they do and to start afresh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So that will be it for calls, but I just wanted to play something here for the benefit of Ricky on YouTube. Talking about Dr. Rowley only giving contracts, or only taking care of the 1% and the East Indian contractors. Let's see that. Let's see that. All right, so let me just get this here. Right. Give me 1 second. Let me just play this here quickly. I want to remind Ricky that right now what is happening in Tobago, right, Ricky? All of the contractors of African descent who got contracts during the time of the PNM, who are today, some of them facing the possibility of losing their homes, losing their businesses, and unable to pay their employees, Ricky, because you have a THA chief secretary who continues to play politics and want to have audit and audit and audit because he say he want to make sure that who entitled to money get money. And all they have plenty to say about the PNM. Right? Trying to link contractors to the Prime Minister and whatnot and who friend and all these kind of things. Who is it in Tobago now? Because and are happy with the result that took place in Tobago? We're very happy with that result. And yeah, look what they do. Look what they do to what Tobago do the PNM, and we hope in Trinidad do the same thing. Who is it that given the contracts now to the East Indian contractors from Trinidad, Ricky? Who doing that? The same administration that you're all happy about. The same administration that replaced the PNM. Who given the contracts to the East Indian contractors? Who doing that? Let me remind you of something, Ricky, that Kamala Persad-Bissessar did while she was Prime Minister for the benefit of the 1% community, if you want to call them that Keith Rowley has never done in the almost 9 years that he has been Prime Minister. Let me remind you, right? Yeah, because like your memory short. We get it. Lest you should forget. I'll play this for your benefit.
A ceremonial dance steeped in Middle Eastern tradition. But apart from their rich and diverse culture and heritage, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar says the Syrian Lebanese community have brought from their homelands values this country should emulate.
If every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago were to follow your example, we would have a greater, better, more improved, thriving TNT.
The Prime Minister and her cabinet recognized the contribution of the Syrian Lebanese community on Thursday. She said the story of their success and struggle of their ancestors should serve as an inspiration to this country.
The businesses you have built now stand among the largest and most profitable in our region. Your contributions to medicine, to law, to social work, to community development, these also have been and continue to be very significant.
The community can celebrate a number of achievements today because of the sacrifices made by their ancestors decades ago.
Sharam in Horn, or Sharam in Horn, Biamil Dan.
His native tongue evaded him somewhat, but according to Duma President Gregory Aboud, this saying encapsulated the motto of his forefathers that every penny counted. They began as suitcase traders, making the most, he said, of every journey. Work to them was not a burden, but a virtue.
They were required to weigh their bundles at the train station. And often, we are told, they discovered that the bundle that they were carrying exceeded their own body weight.
Mrs. Persad-Bissessar also recognized the contribution and achievements of Dr. Anthony N. Sabga, Chairman Emeritus of the Ansa McCall Group of Companies, parent company of CNC3. She said his struggle as a 13-year-old boy to heading an international conglomerate worth well over $11 billion is an exceptional example of the ideals of the community. For CNC3, I'm Kamal Georges.
Yeah, Ricky, Keith Rowley has never done that. He has never hosted an event at the Prime Minister's Residence and Diplomatic Center exclusively for members of the Syrian Lebanese community at expense to the taxpayers. They are taxpayers too, yeah? But he has never had such an event. You will not see pictures of Dr. Rowley holding up hands with Nicholas Sabga after a battle of the 1% community at a Diwali Nagar event, or an event that was hosted by the Guardian Media Group for Diwali. And you see Ms. Persad-Bissessar, she only holding up the man hand and want to take pictures of him. You wouldn't see Dr. Rowley doing those things. I encourage, send us a picture if you have one of Dr. Rowley doing that. Right? He never take taxpayers' money to go and host any specific community. You could tell me where I could find a video of any event that Mrs. Persad-Bissessar held at the Diplomatic Center specifically for the benefit of the African community during emancipation, right? To big up the African community and talk about all the good things and the contributions that they have made. Could tell me where I could find that? Ricky? But Keith Rowley only given contracts to the 1%, and he want to give to the and to the East Indian community. Well, again, I remind you that the cost of renovating the Red House was $441 million, Ricky, right? And over 25% of that $441 million went to 6 businesses that are African-owned. 6. And that's what I was able to verify so far. There are a lot of other contracts that were given out. So I'm sure that if I'm able to complete the verification exercise, we will see that a lot more than 25%, a lot more than $110 million would have gone into the pockets of the African community, and in particular, contractors of African descent. But you see, all they don't talk about them thing. You all just jump on the propaganda train and the propaganda bandwagon and repeating talking points from the Doglaya, and wouldn't think for yourself because you're too intellectually lazy to go and do your own research. So when you come here with your nonsense, I will correct you, right? And the other folks in the chat are doing a very good job of dealing with you, right? And as somebody else says, study the judgment in the EMBD. Yes, we will talk about that. Who are the contractors there? Who gave them the work? Who established a contract mill in the offices of EFCL, such that after the election of 2015, 3 people were found in a back room backdating contracts, so that people who got contracts, some of these very crooked contractors, could come and present contracts to the new government to say, we get contract dated so and so, and we do the work, and we want to get paid, to defraud the citizens of this country, to defraud the taxpayers. Never under the PNM you ever find that, but no contract mill. So when you want to commit your dotishness, right, and talking foolishness about who in the back pocket of who, check all yourself. Just remember, it is Keith Rowley and his administration that took a decision to outfit government campus built by the PNM under Patrick Manning that was left empty, right, for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days under Kamla Persad-Bissessar. And just before the general election of 2015, they want to play, they come rushing to try and see if they could give out contract to their friends, family, and financiers to outfit government campus. While for the 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days that they were in office, paying hundreds of millions of dollars in rent to who? The 1%. As soon as Keith Rowley came into office, what did he do? Set about outfitting and completing government campus, such that today the government is paying hundreds of millions of dollars less in rent to the very same 1% who you claim Rowley given contract to. You know many buildings owned by the so-called 1% about Port of Spain that under Kamla from 2010 to 2015 was occupied and paying rent for, is today empty, right? And hasn't earned one dime in rent for at least the last 7 or 8 years because Keith Rowley decided, you know what? We will occupy government campus. We will utilize the waterfront buildings. We will build our own building, new Ministry of Health headquarters around the Savannah. So they're no longer paying $8 to $10 million a year in rent to the so-called 1% for that building on Park Street. Keith Rowley has been doing that, right? Trying to establish state-owned properties, to have government occupy state-owned properties so we wouldn't be paying hundreds of millions of dollars in rent. He did that. Kamla Persad-Bissessar didn't do that. She turned a building in South that was supposed to, again, do the same thing. Take government offices out of rented property and bring them into state-owned property. She take that and turn it into a teaching hospital, trying to mamagai and fool people. And today, those offices that should have moved in today are still paying rent, all about San Fernando to benefit who? The friends, family, and financiers of the UNC. So check all yourself before you come with that nonsense, summer, please. All right? Check all yourself. Folks, thank you so much for joining me today. Always a pleasure to chat with you all. And God's willing, I'll be back on Tuesday morning, Tuesday. So next week is Tuesday and Thursday. I will not be on next week, Sunday, because I will be traveling. I'll be out of the country until mid-March. So I'll see if I can do the live while I'm out. But if I can't, it'll probably be around next live after Sunday. It'll probably be around the 14th of March or something like that. Right? But I will make every effort to see what I could do while I'm away. So thank you so much. And God's willing, we will chat again. What is this in cutters, corn curls, all the PNM, the PM? Ricky, your record stick? Your record stick? Talking about what the corn curls and all that the PNM do and the country in such a mess. What mess the country is in? You all know fed up talking that stupidness. What mess is the country in? Tell us now. What mess? Please. Yes, the crime rate is high and unacceptable. But what mess are you talking about? We see in companies declaring profits significantly higher than anything they declared between 2010 to 2015. Record profits. Is that what you call a country in a mess? You all continue to talk about the economy and the economy in shambles and the economy in shambles. Well, how the hell a bank could be making $1.75 billion in profits in an economy that is in shambles? We're talking about no foreign direct investment, but yet still we have two industrial parks that recently opened. The one in Point Lisas and the other one, I can't remember where it was, that Bryden, I think it's Bryden, announced that they're going to spend $200 million to establish a warehouse. And every one of the lots in that park, which is yet to be completed, is already booked out. It already has the name of the new owners on it. 30 companies in the Point Lisas industrial park, right? We have Samsonite, which is one of the leading brands of luggage in the world, is now being produced in Trinidad and Tobago in Point Lisas. So no longer when it is you buy this abroad will you see made in Europe or made in USA, you will see made in Trinidad and Tobago. But you all wouldn't give the government credit for that. So while Paula Gopi's school and her ministry working hard, going out there and trying to bring foreign direct investment into the country, when Dr. Rowley goes to these different conferences and he's trying to see how we can get people to invest into the energy sector in Trinidad and Tobago, all the UNC could do is bad mouth and bad talk. This clown, Enel Roberts, do another doubles on coffee this morning to host to Guyana to beg and all kind of thing and all kind of foolishness. And these are the people who want to hold the reins of power again in this country and want nothing good for the country. Every effort that the government makes to try and improve the lot of the country, all they do is to criticize it and look, well, you're not serious. You're all not serious. When it is that you could stop quoting and regurgitating talking points from the Doglaya and the rest of them and actually think for yourself and come with common sense, we can have a conversation. But right now, you're not making no sense. So just do it just about the country in a mess and the country in a mess and the country in a mess. Really? What mess the country in? But yet still, go to the airport on any given day and check and see the amount of all who jump in and plane to go to Canada and go to the US and whatnot to like all yourself. But come and talk about the country in a mess. Come now, man. Miss us with that, please. Miss us with that. Because most of those big bands that sold out for Carnival, Tribe and Yuma and Bliss and all of them, you feel these costumes cheap? Where do people get the money from? The country in a mess, so where they get the money from? All who complaining, they're poor and they're suffering and they can't buy food and they can't send the children to school. These big bands give out these costumes for free? Look, well, you're not serious, yes? Folks, we'll chat again on Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, the rest of your weekend, and do let these guys, if you all could continue the chat, deal with TK's there. But we will address this issue, this nonsense talk that they like to comment about the country in a mess and all of that. We will deal with that on another day. Right? Yes. So that's it for me today. Apologies to the folks on the Facebook cut off, but yeah, the device that I used for that, unfortunately, the battery, and I didn't notice the warning light. So forgive me. But we will chat again on Tuesday. You're most welcome, PF Cutters, and the rest of you all. Proud to be Trini. Yeah, don't let Ricky and them send up all your blood pressure. They know what the agenda is. Make it make sense for me and Ricky. Later.